This is the RPM Podcast, starring Eric Brennan,
I ate so many hot dogs I can't remember where I've eaten them.
Sam Ballard Jr.,
You can bump me some places, but there are some places you can't do that.
Nick Rendo,
It worked as long as they were going in a straight
As
line.
long as you're going straight, yeah. But
Scott Riggleman,
He definitely wiggled quite a bit
it
before
got loose, and away it went.
Tim Riggleman,
Bars will be closing here in a little bit. You guy won't even be able to make last call.
and Josh Matthews.
I think that left front corner, that nose looks pretty heavily damaged.
Well, look at
And here we are again, episode 145 of the RPM podcast. It is 7:45 p.m., July 29th, 2019.
We are early
I'm
today.
sorry. Yeah, we're 15 minutes early today. It's pretty good. But the secret is we're 15 minutes early to our normal 8 o'clock start time, but we're actually 45 minutes late because we shot for 7 o'clock tonight. So I'm Scott Riggleman in Manchester, New Jersey at my Edge of Divorce Motorsports Studios. My brother Timmy Riggleman's up in Farmingdale. Tim, how are you?
I'm good, ready to go.
And Josh Matthews, of course, he's the glue that holds us all together. We were just talking about that. He's the sole surviving guy from the original RPM podcast. And we were talking a little bit earlier about how a lot of podcasts come and go because it is a lot of work. And I'm saying, this show isn't the greatest or the most professional show, but it's pretty long lasting. And really, it's all because of Josh, because everybody else has come and gone with him, but he's been toughing it out. So Josh Matthews is down in Waretown, New Jersey at his family Matthews studio. And when you started the show, Josh, you weren't in Waretown, right?
Yeah, we were.
Oh, were you really?
Yeah. This porch was not painted. We were working on. There was a single light bulb to the right of my TV screen. That was our light for the show. And then one night it started flickering and stuff, and I ended up having to put a track light in and then eventually I did paint and everything and got the porch looking a lot better. Granted, like I've cluttered it up to all hell here, but it's better. So, yeah, it's been a lot
But
of
this
work.
was really a brainchild of Eric Graham, though, right? He was the one that wanted to do it first.
Eric Graham, I think it was the initial suggestion of we should do a podcast between Eric Brennan and myself, and saying, look, we're all involved in racing, so let's do this. And it worked out really well. I was actually thinking about getting Eric Graham back on. I think he would be interested in doing it, especially as long as we keep the earlier hours, because
Right.
he gets up for work at like 4 in the morning or has to be there at 4 or something. But yeah, we should get him back on for at least for some of the open wheel stuff too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right, so right to NASCAR. They were at Pocono, one of my favorite racetracks. I know a lot of people don't like Pocono on the Cup Series. I love it. But me and my brother are a little biased. We spent our childhood every September, mid-September, going to the Race of Champions for the big modified race at Pocono. That's why that place has a little special place to me. That was a great race weekend. It was right when the kids went back to school. It just started getting cool out and cold out. We'd go up there and camp, and we'd spend the whole weekend up there. And I love, and even though the modifieds don't race there anymore, I still love Pocono. I just love that part of the country. Beautiful racetrack. Nothing made me happier than Sunday afternoon watching on TV when they show that aerial view. They had a beautiful day for racing. All the trees were green. The parking lot was filled with cars. The infield was filled with campers. They had a good crowd there. Really love Pocono weekend up there. They tried something a little different up there this week, Josh. They tried using the PJ1, the grip strip stuff,
Yeah.
spray on the track.
Yep.
I guess it worked. To tell you the truth, when I was watching it, I wanted to see if it would help the racing, and it did a little bit. But it wasn't like real noticeable by watching on TV. But then when listening to the interviews of the Cup drivers after the race, they were all for it. They loved it. They thought it was great. They said it really helped them pass and make it more exciting, more exciting race. It did come down to a pretty good late restart in the race. People were worried about running out of fuel. It got exciting at the end of the race. It was another. So now we're 3 races in with exciting finishes to our NASCAR Cup races. So I enjoyed the race. I did get to watch the whole thing. me and Nancy did flirt with the idea of going up there Sunday, because we did get out of Wall Stadium at a pretty reasonable time. But I did race Grandview Friday night. I got home 3 o'clock in the morning from there, back up at 8 o'clock in the morning to get everything ready to go to Wall. But we did get out of Wall. I mean, I had my factory stock stuff all loaded up by like 9 p.m. We did stay and watch the 125 lap modified race. We did get out of there by like quarter after 10. We were at our camper by, quarter to 11 o'clock. I did say, Nancy, if you want, we'll wake up in the morning. We'll head up to Pocono because they do something pretty cool up there. I've always wanted to do this, and I still haven't done it yet because we didn't go Sunday. For $40 a person, so if me and Nancy were to drive our car up there, it would be $80. You pull into you go over to the tunnel turn, you pay your money there, and they give you a parking pass for turn one, and you drive down to turn one. And turn one's kind of in the infield. It's like a big hill. You're kind of sitting on top of a hill. And everybody parks up there, and some people set up scaffolding in their pickups and stuff like that. And you can just pull down there and just park anywhere and watch the race, like right in the middle of turn one. So you can see them coming into turn one, through turn one, and then going down the long pond straightaway. But, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not the best place to watch a race, but you are there. You do see the cars going by, and you just put it on your cell phone. You can watch it on MRN or, people have TV set up. You can listen to it on the radio. You just hang out. You can walk around. There's concession trailers, food trailers, and stuff there. So we did wake up Sunday morning. I said, Nance, let's go up there. It's a beautiful day. We can either run home and get your car and do it, or I'll drop the race car trailer right here at the camper, and we'll just drive the dually up there. And she said, yeah, that's a good idea. But she's like, but it's also a beautiful day to sit at the camper. She's like, let's put a couple feelers out there. If anybody wants to come over and barbecue, and we can set the TV up outside at the camper here and watch that. If nobody's interested in coming and hang out in the camper, we'll shoot up there. Because like I told you last week on this show, the race didn't start till 3 p.m. up there. So we could have little left at 11 o'clock here and been up there, in time for the race, So she did send a feeler out, and we did have some kickback, and people were like, yeah, we'll come hang out at the camper. We'll barbecue and stuff. So that's what we ended up doing. We stayed at my camper and barbecued and watched the race. But I was happy to see a big crowd there, and there was a good crowd there. But typical Pocono, beautiful day, sun shining, halfway through the race, there's a rain delay. They show the radar, and there's literally one little speck of green, and it's over the racetrack. But it blew through there so quick, they never even took the cars off the track. They just kept them out there in caution laps, and they never even put the jet dryers out or the air Titans out or nothing. It just like a freak shower rolled through. It always rains at Pocono sometime during the course of the weekend.
And it just steamed off real quick, and that was it.
Yeah, because I guess the pavement was so hot, it just dried up real quick. It was just a quick shower. And it was raining pretty good because they showed like the guys' in-car cameras, and you could see the water on their hoods and the water on their windshield. But yeah, it just dried up. So
now, Scott, I want to. I get a lot of emails from Pocono about their package deals, and they have a lot of good deals if you want to sort through them. And like you were saying about the $40 a person, that's not a bad deal to go in and watch the race from an infield. That's a great experience for a lot of people. And I, this weekend, got my tickets for the IndyCar race at Pocono. And the package I went with was the shaded grandstands, like I did last year. Comes with the paddock pass, so I can walk around the pits and see all the cars and everything prior to the race. And it also comes with a scanner rental. So I can listen to the drivers and all. I mean, it's a nice little package or whatever. And you have bathrooms on the same level, so you don't have to go all the way up and down the grandstands. You have, concessions right up there at that top of the level there. So it's right if you want to go get a burger or anything like that. So I want to give Pocono a lot of credit for the package that they put together. Pocono, I mean, I've gone to Dover how many times, but they don't have a shaded section of grandstands. They have the bridge and that air conditioned booth on the backstretch. That's really all they got. So I just think it's a really neat thing that they do, and that I think that might be part of the reason they get so many people out there. And plus, it's the only thing for miles.
Right. Josh, you want to look up the top 10 in this race? We can give the top 10 in this race. And then I just want to talk a little bit about what Pocono is doing for 2020.
Yeah. So Denny Hamlin got the win. That surprised a lot of people, I think. Eric Jones in second. Martin Truex Jr. third. William Byron. Kyle Larson. Kevin Harvick. just out of the top 5 after his win last week. Daniel Hemrick, Brad Keselowski, which Busch was it? Kyle Busch, and Ryan
Kurt
Blaney.
Busch got wrecked.
Yeah,
Kurt Busch got wrecked towards the end of the race.
Stenhouse. That's right.
Yeah, and it was just so
tweet.
funny. My friend Ron Becker was over at the camper watching the race with us, and there was like 10 to go when that caution came out. And I said, "Oh, this is awesome! Ricky Stenhouse had a race, and he's not going to wreck. He's going to finish. And he was running like 18th all day. He'll have a top 20." I said, "This has been a long time since Ricky Stenhouse didn't have like some type of problem in a race." Sure enough, the next restart, they go 4 wide off of turn 1 onto the long pond straightaway, and he's put himself in a little bit of a dangerous position because it might have worked,
Mm-hmm.
But what happened was the 41 was under Kurt Busch, and he came up. No, Clint Boyer, the 14 was under Kurt Busch. Well, he came up, and that made Kurt Busch go up, and then Ricky was up there, but it was like he kind of made it 4 wide by going up there, so it was a little bit his fault. Then they were kind of okay. He did brush the wall and come off the wall, and halfway down the long pond straightaway, I guess he got mad that Kurt Busch pushed him up the wall. He just hooked him and turned him on the back straightaway, and it collected on Michael McDowell as well. So Ricky didn't leave there unscathed like I thought he was gonna.
There was a tweet from Kurt Busch said, "I've decided to take the high road with the Stenhouse incident. Hopefully he won't wreck me up there too."
Yeah, and then Stenhouse responded to him. Do you have his response?
Yeah, it was you have my number. Come, call me.
No, he said something like, "Yeah, while you're up on the high road or something, while you drive over to my house, and we'll settle it."
Oh yeah,
like
on that on that road, drive to my house. You have my number. But yeah, it was amusing. I figured they're just gonna it'll blow over sooner or later. It's not like Tony Stewart in the pits at a dirt track.
Yeah, before we talk about Pocono 2020, since you just mentioned the Tony Stewart fight, I'm sure everybody's seen the clips on Facebook and stuff like that. He did get into a fight at a dirt track with a guy that was pretty much heckling him pretty good.
That was more of an argument with one punch.
Yeah, I got a couple views on that. Number one, it's a shame it happened because Tony Stewart was doing something that everybody says every Cup driver should do. He was standing in the pits at the end of the night, just signing autographs. No PR manager there, no handlers there. Just anybody can come up, talk to him. He was signing everything. There was kids, and like it's just like a Wall Stadium Saturday night. He was hanging out the back of his trailer, talking to everybody. Everybody would love to meet Dale Jr. or Jimmy Johnson that way. And maybe this is the reason they don't do it. It's because, sure enough, Tony's in the center of a bunch of people standing around him, and there's one guy outside the circle, yelling stuff that he sucks and all this stuff. And Tony Stewart gives him the finger. The guy gives him the finger back, says something else to him. Tony runs through the crowd and pops the guy with a left hand. Right? Yeah. So, I mean, it's not, you can simply say the guy deserved it. Tony was just sticking up for himself. But we just talked about it on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. We said, you shouldn't fight in the pits anymore. It's not like the old days because everybody has a camera out. Everything's on film. Sure enough, there's 10 people standing around with their cell phones out. Everybody had a video of it happening. There was everybody kept still shotting this little girl, holding her ears and crying because, grown men are fighting. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, some people look at it, the guy deserved it. Tony's a badass. He punched him. I look at it a little different. Tony Stewart is a racing icon. He should be above all that. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't need to punch some drunk fat guy in the pits because he was heckling him. He should be above all that. He's better than that guy that's heckling him. You know what I'm saying? He's got more to lose than to gain by doing something like that.
I agree.
But so I wish he would have handled it a little bit different. I understand why he did it. Another thing with Tony too, sometimes when I see him do stuff like this, and I get criticized for saying this, but sometimes when I see him do stuff like that, I think all he's doing is imitating AJ Foyt. Like he praises AJ Foyt. That's why he ran the 14 number and stuff like that. And that stuff AJ Foyt used to do in the 60s, not 2019, but back in the 60s, AJ Foyt used to do that before video cameras were all over the place, you know what I'm saying? Before everybody sued over every little thing, And it's almost like, because AJ Foyt's his icon. That's how AJ Foyt handled himself. That's kind of how Tony handles himself. That's kind of, Tony's close to 50 years old too. I think he's 48 or 49 now. I was hoping this was something he would grow out of, but he hasn't, you know? So I don't know. I think all the stuff he's been through, he should be above punching somebody in the face, you know?
As far as this incident you guys are talking about here, I mean, the guy that was yelling at him wasn't like right in his face. Like he actually had a
push through a crowd of people to get to him.
So he definitely wasn't defending himself. You know what I mean? He was going after the guy. It's a little bit of a touchy situation. The little part about the little girl, I understand your parents got you in the pits and stuff like that happened. For me being a dad, I really felt bad for that little girl. She was really scared, you know. Where were her parents? Her parents were more worried about filming Tony Stewart than they were their little girl was sitting there crying. So yeah, that was the parents' fault. That wasn't Tony Stewart's fault. And one of these times, Tony Stewart's going to go after somebody, and you're not always going to be the badass. There's always somebody better than you. He's going to.
And you know what? That's exactly what I wanted. It was almost like Tony was looking at this guy, sizing him up, and then he's like, "Yeah, I can hit this." The guy was a very large man, but like obese. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's almost like Tony sized him up and be like, "Yeah, I can show off in front of all these people and punch this guy, and this guy ain't gonna do nothing about it." But then again, the guy was running his mouth. He should shut up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so you can look at it from so many different views, but in the end, Tony Stewart should be above that. He's better than that. He's got
Scott,
more to
like you said that you were hoping he would kind of grow out of it. I mean, Montoya and Tony Stewart were both known for being hotheads for a long time, but Montoya, I mean, I'm not saying there's no spunk or whatever, but he's grown out of it a lot. Going from pushing camera guys or pushing the cameras away to just being kind of miffed at this point, you know, it's just a completely different personality than he used to be. But I think that was with age. But Tony Stewart seems to have embraced the people liking that he was a hothead or something. Yeah.
It's just like, you know, reading all the comments under the video. It's like there's so many, like I said, there's so many different ways to look at it. And the one person put, you know, oh, Tony Stewart treats his fans so good. You know, look at him standing there signing everybody's autographs. He's so nice to special needs children's and all this stuff. And then someone says, well, just because you're nice to special needs person doesn't mean you can punch another guy in the face. You know what I'm saying? Like you'd be like, well, I'm nice to this guy, so I can punch this guy in the face. You know, you should be nice to everybody. You know,
it'll even out when I get to the pearly gates.
But you know what was weird? That night, I guess Tony blew his engine up that night, and he had a blown motor, and he got in that fight. And then I seen last night he won somewhere. He won somewhere out that way, and won a race that paid $25,000 to win. So he did have a good rebound from that incident at that one track. But you know, it does bother me that a guy like that was heckling Tony like that, because Tony might say, this ain't worth me coming to these tracks anymore, and we need him at tracks like that. And it might deter somebody like Casey Kane or Kyle Larson that's also doing that. You know, it's just, I don't know. It was just bad all around. It was bad. The guy shouldn't have been heckling him. Tony shouldn't have punched the guy. It just got to a point that it didn't need to get to. And someone told me that guy was heckling him all day. Like, even after the heat races, he was yelling at Tony, you know? So, like, the guy was a big pain in the ass, you know?
So, almost
But then, like, when you do meet these guys, I've seen people, too, be like, oh, I tried to talk to Casey Kane, but he had two handlers with him, a manager and a PR guy. Well, this is why they have a manager and a PR guy with them, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody said, oh, I always used to try to get Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s autograph, and Chocolate Myers would push me away. Well, this is why they have to have him. Here's Tony just being a normal guy hanging out on a Saturday night behind his race car hauler, talking to everybody, signing autographs, and he gets into a fight. You know, it's like you need a buffer, you know?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Fat people get angry when it's hot out. It's probably hot out there.
And I tell you what, that's one thing I got out of the video, too. Tony Stewart's put on some weight, man. Oh, my God.
Eric Graham, where's your input on this? Eric Graham always said that Tony Stewart was the patron saint of fat race car drivers.
Yeah.
So that's why Eric Graham was a Tony Stewart fan. At least that's what he told me. So. Anyway.
All right, I just want to talk a little bit about Pocono 2020. I think they're doing something pretty cool. They're trying to shorten up the Cup Series schedule. So what Pocono is going to lose their second date, basically what happened, so they can shorten the season up by a week or two, you know?
Okay.
So Pocono said, well, I don't want to lose my date, but if you want to shorten the season up, what we'll do is we will put both our races on one weekend. So everybody was like a little hesitant about that. And some people the first theory that came up was they're going to run one race on the tri-oval, the NASCAR tri-oval at Pocono, and then the second race on the road course, make like a roval like Charlotte did. That didn't happen, which I'm kind of glad it didn't, because I don't know how good that would have been. But what they are doing, I'm pulling it up now, is it's going to be a lot of racing on a weekend. It's going to be pretty cool. It's going to start on a Thursday with an ARCA race. So this is basically what they're doing. They said Pocono 2020 news. There will be 5 races in 4 days, starting off with the ARCA series on Thursday. Then for Cup, their qualifying will be Friday. Then on Saturday, after the truck race, will be Cup race number 1. Sunday following the Xfinity race will be Cup race number 2, which the lead lap cars from race number 1 will start in inverse order of which they finished in. Lap down finishers behind. Each Cup race is expected to be 350 miles each, 140 laps, as it is confirmed Sundays will be so far that distance. NASCAR officials also said teams will use the same car for both Cup races. Sounds like a very demanding weekend for the drivers. I like it. I really do. So you go up there on Thursday.
If you're a lap down in the first one, you're a lap down and you start the second one?
No. What they're saying is, say if there's 20 cars on the lead lap, say Ricky Stenhouse Jr. miraculously finishes 20th on the lead lap without wrecking his car. He'll now be on the pole. But then whoever was a lap down will start 21st now. You know what I'm saying?
So they'll be on the lead lap, but they're going to be in the back of the field. Right.
That's just how they're picking their invert, is by lead lap cars. You know, if instead of saying 12 or 16 or 18 is how many cars on the lead lap, that's what they're going to invert.
Hell, they might as well make them run the opposite direction too at that point.
Well, that's what people are saying. That's a gimmick. And it's just a way of setting the qualifying order for the next race without having qualifying again.
What's the rule for, backup cars and stuff? Because, what if you...
But they're saying if you do wreck, you can go to a backup car, but they're mainly saying they want you to use the same car, you know? Like, it's got to be pretty wrecked for them to say, yeah, you can go to your backup car.
Well, we've seen some nasty wrecks, people losing brakes and stuff.
Ryan Preece wrecked real hard this week, you know. Yeah, of course, if you wreck your car, you can go to a backup car. But if you win the race, they ain't letting you go to a backup car, you know.
Right.
That's going to be a little tricky, but they said they got a formula in place to consider if you need a backup car or not for the next race.
What about changing motors? I know that it's not like it used to be, where people would take a motor out of a Chevy pickup or something and throw it in.
Now these motors. They said these motors can handle that distance, no problem. Okay. But if you do have a problem, break a valve spring, blow a motor, you're going to have to put a motor in. You know what I'm saying?
Right. This is going to be a race of attrition, or races of attrition, I think. It's because I know Pocono isn't necessarily the most exciting track to watch. The cars get strung out and all. But, it's a difficult track. It is that track will take a toll on drivers and cars. What was the race distance for each race?
Well, they're saying 350 miles, 140 laps. Right now they're 400 miles, right?
Okay.
So I was thinking they were going to do 300-mile races. But then again, if you get down to 300 miles races, now you're down to like 120 laps or 110 laps, you know what I'm saying? So at first, I thought when I looked at it first, I thought the 350 miles was a little much. But then when I looked at it lap-wise, it was 140 laps, you know. And I remember that race used to be 200 laps, you know.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, it's cut back a little bit. I think it's a cool weekend, man. I really think it is. It's going to be on their June date, not their July date, so it won't be as hot as it was this weekend. Pocono is great for camping in the infield or around the racetrack, so it's perfect for the campers. I like it. I really
campers
do.
Are going to fill up that place with 2 races. I think you're going to see a lot more campers. The hotels are going to fill up.
Plus, if you're the casual race fan, now you have a shot at making it to one of the races. Like, you can say, all right, well, Sunday I got a christening for my daughter at church on Sunday. But now I can go to the Saturday race. You know what I'm saying? I can make it to the Saturday Cup race. Or someone like me that races on Saturday says, all right, I can't make it to the Saturday race, but now I can go to the Cup race on Sunday and see the Xfinity race as well.
Right.
No, I think it's a great weekend, man. Action-packed. The only bad thing about it is now ARCA's losing their race there because they usually have 2 races there, you know?
Okay.
So now they're down to 1.
But ARCA's, we talked about before. they're having issues between car counts and that whole
So that
merger thing.
might help them. And I noticed that the ARCA race is a little bit longer, even though they have one race, it's longer. Their race was only 60 laps this weekend, and now for this Friday race in 2020, or this Thursday race for 2020, it's going to be 80 laps. And I heard, I think Andy Zeus was telling us, or Andy Seiss was telling us last week, he said he thought some of the reasons why not a lot of cars go to the ARCA race at Pocono is because it's a little bit of a travel. ARCA is kind of known as a Midwest racing series, and it's a short distance race. It's only 60 laps, you know what I'm saying? So maybe with them getting 80 laps, it'll entice more people to come race it, and it's only once a year. So, I mean, I like it. It's better than them losing a race date. I kind of have a feeling this world, the way the world is nowadays, I think other tracks might go to this. You know, it might be. This is definitely a test of, NASCAR trying double headers at other racetracks. You know,
I'm not entirely opposed to it. Like we said, I think there's obviously going to be some kinks to work out, but that's with anything. So, and if you look at it, it will save the teams money in travel cost,
without a doubt.
So, but I mean. I don't know. I mean, you put the guys up in a hotel or something for the night, and one extra night of that. But they're pretty much there all weekend anyway.
Yeah, but they were there this weekend anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea, and we talked to Ryan Flores not too long ago on the show, and he said the reason why NASCAR is trying to shorten the season up, they're trying not to run deeper into football season because they lose a lot of TV viewership once football season starts. So they're trying to end in October before football gets real hot and heavy. You know what I'm saying?
I'll never understand that.
Well, I know. I saw the other day, first preseason game's only 28 days away. You must be excited about that.
Thank God I don't pay for cable.
Josh always puts every year. I know he repeats the same joke every year, but it's pretty funny. As soon as the first kickoff starts of the very first preseason game, he asks if football's over with yet. As soon as the first kick of the first preseason game, he'll post on Facebook, "Is the NFL season over yet?"
It is true. I don't get it. It's just not that exciting. I don't know. You're talking about Pocono being kind of an out-of-the-way race for ARCA. How about Iowa being an out-of-the-way race for the Modified Tour?
That was a funny announcement, too. I'm starting to think that Andy Seiss knew about this before it was announced, because that's exactly what he said when we asked him the mandatory question we ask all these modified drivers that come on our show, where would they like to see the tour go? And remember him saying, he's like, I think we should venture out west. And this is by far the furthest west they ever went. I put it in from my house. It's 15 hours and 45 minutes or something like that to get to that Iowa racetrack. So yeah, we talked a little bit when me and Tim were kids. We remember the modifieds going to IRP out in Indiana. Tim, you've been that far west as well, Ohio. You went to that Mansfield, Ohio with the modified.
Yeah.
Everybody traveled out there, right, to the Mansfield, Ohio race, right?
Yeah, that wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah, that wasn't that far. This is a little out of the way.
8 hours or so, probably, depending on how deep into Ohio you go. 8 to 10 hours, probably.
But Tim, you remember how long it took you to get to Mansfield?
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm thinking 9 to 10 hour range to get to Mansfield. They're saying 15 to 16 hours to get out to Iowa. But here's the thing, though. Once you do get out to Iowa for the modified tour race out there, it's a state-of-the-art, beautiful racetrack. You're not driving all the way out there to race a little bull ring like Wall Stadium or something like that. It's a 7/8, well-designed, top-flight NASCAR racetrack. You know what I'm saying?
Must go.
And who knows? I mean, me and Mike Below were talking on Facebook. Mike thinks it's a bad idea because he don't think the modifieds will draw a fan crowd out there. But who knows? With all this stuff, with the modifieds being on TV and Fans Choice TV, we've noticed around here it's helped attendance good. So maybe there might be people out west that have been watching it on Fans Choice TV and on NBC Sports, and then now they're like, hey, man, they're coming closer to me. I'm going to go watch them live,
So let me ask you, though, outside of late model stock cars when you head out west. What else do they race? I mean, are modifieds
Well, no,
just not a thing
that's
out
another. No, modifieds aren't a thing out there. But here is the thing: out west, they are more open wheeled. I mean, of course, you have IndyCar out west. Out in Indy.
Mm-hmm.
Super modifieds are huge out that way too. Super modifieds are pretty much bigger out there than they are over this way,
Mm-hmm.
and they all have all the USAC midgets and stuff out there. They're more open wheel out there than they are fender cars.
They got those IMCA modifieds that they race all over the place out there.
Yeah. You know what? And I told Mike Below on Facebook too. I said, Mike, I think the first show will be good. I think you'll get 30 modifieds out there. Everybody will make the trip. They'll be excited to go somewhere new to a beautiful racetrack. And then like Bristol, Bristol was a big hit the first time. And then, after 4 or 5 years, it dwindles down and then they'll move on to something else.
I'm really surprised because you think of Bristol as being that nice bull ring with contact and they're able to keep going, and I don't know, but why it didn't last. I mean, other than there were some gnarly pileups.
The bottom line is NASCAR see how good of a show the modifieds put on in New Hampshire, and that's a mile track. So now they're like, well, we got this 7/8 mile track out in Iowa. Let's bring them out there and let's see what kind of show they can put on out there.
Right.
And here's the thing too, like whenever I worked on modified teams on the tour and stuff like that, they all want to be treated like a national series, not a regional series. Oh, we're national. But then they don't want to leave Connecticut and Massachusetts. You know what I'm saying? Well, to be a national series, you got to have to travel a little bit. So.
Oh yeah, like see. You with that the sponsor, was it Sony that made you travel out west?
Yeah, I went already out to Kansas to race, just because I sold the sponsorship as we were a national race team. You know what I'm saying? And then after a while, they caught on. And I'm like, well, you're only going from New Jersey to New Hampshire, and you've been out to Pennsylvania. Where's this? You're kind of regional. We're going to knock you down the regional, so we had to start looking around for something else to do. We were going to go to Irwindale, California. We were all set up to go to Irwindale, California. We raced at Thompson on a weekend. It was the World Series weekend, and my race was on Friday. We were actually leaving that Tuesday to go to Irwindale, California for a race that following weekend. We're giving ourselves 3 or 4 days to get out there. And I blew the transmission up in the arch truck at Thompson, not once, but twice. We changed it. It blew up in practice, and we changed it, and it blew up again. It wasn't blowing up. It was vibrating, and the case was cracking, and we couldn't figure out why. And it ended up being the drive shaft was bent, and it was vibrating so bad it was breaking the transmissions. And I just didn't feel comfortable going all the way out to California, not knowing if it was going to run right or not. So I had to cancel that trip, and we had to make it up quick. So then we ended up going out to Kansas and racing, which was only halfway across the country,
Yeah. Only halfway.
Yeah.
Sorry. I gotta follow you on some of your enduro trips and things like that. I was supposed to go to the track Saturday, and I ended up getting stuck working on the farm, fixing up the lean-to because we had to bale hay this weekend and get that in before it rains. So that ran late, and I didn't get to make it to the track, unfortunately. But
all right, one other quick thing I want to talk about in NASCAR is Jimmy Johnson. That was announced today. New crew chief. Really struggling. So what do? They never fire the driver. They always fire the crew chief. So Jimmy Johnson's crew chief just got let go. And from what I understand is they're moving the head engineer up to the crew chief position.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah. You know what? It's kind of going with the theory Dale Jr. has been talking about lately. He's Dale Jr. says within 5 years, we ain't going to have crew chiefs no more. They're going to be head engineers and a car chief. There's not going to be a crew chief. So it's almost like Hendrick's going that route already. And another thing Dale Jr. is saying too, he thinks the days are over of a crew chief sitting on top of the pit box. He said pretty soon they're going to be over in one of the suites or a press box on the other side of the track because you can see the race differently from there.
Right.
And relaying the messages down to the car chief to handle the stuff in the pits. So
well, we talked about this when I forget who it was. One of the crew chiefs got suspended, and we were like, "Well, it's not like they can't do their job. Just call in with a damn cell phone after watching the race on TV and say, even with a 30-second delay, they could still plan tire strategies and things like that."
Yeah, I was explained from a fireman one time, a couple firemen that I knew that were involved in racing. They kind of compare what they do out of fire to what NASCAR does. Like everybody has a certain job to approach a house, and there's someone calling the shots and directing everybody. They said with technology and everything, they got to the point now where the fire chief doesn't even have to be at the house that's on fire. He can make the calls from the fire station.
Yeah.
So it's basically, if they're doing that with fire calls and stuff, why can't they do it at a NASCAR race? We see it in Josh's favorite sport, NFL football. A lot of the coaches are up in the press boxes or the suites or wherever, calling the game from up top and calling making the calls and sending it down to the head coach on the football field. So I think Dale Jr. is definitely onto something, and Hendrick's already making that switch. The way Dale Jr. was saying it's going to happen in the next few years in our sport, so it's going to be interesting to see. When they split Chad Knaus up and Jimmy Johnson up, of course there was going to be a rival. Now you were going to want to see who was going to succeed without the other person. And right now, Chad Knaus is winning that war because he's actually doing better with his new driver than Jimmy Johnson is doing, but with his new crew chief,
Yes.
And by Jimmy Johnson already making a switch, it kind of showed that Chad was better than Jimmy. And I was hoping it was going to be the other way around because I see things. Not that I have anything against Chad or Jimmy, but I just see things through a driver's point of view. So we'll see. I mean, it is a move of desperation. They're really trying to get him into the chase because they got this whole. We talked about it last week. They got this whole promotion on him winning his 8th championship, and he's not even close. Like he's not even making the playoffs. So it's just like they're in desperation because they had another bad finish at Pocono, and it knocked them even lower in the standings of missing the playoffs.
But he did get a stage win, right?
Yeah, but did you see how he got that stage win, Josh?
No, I didn't.
He basically sacrificed the rest of the race and stayed out under a caution when everybody pitted, knowing that once it went green, he would have to pit and lose a ton of track position and everything like that. So, I mean, anybody can win a stage race if
I think that was there just to get them to talk about him or get him some TV time then.
Well, no, it is 10 points, and he was like 12 points out of the playoff spot, so he needed that 10 points. But they knew when it came time to go green, it was going to screw them. It really messed up their pit stop strategy, but they needed that 10 points. So basically everybody peeled off the pit and Jimmy stayed out, got the stage win,
What a mess. Well, we'll see.
It really is. It's a shame. At the beginning of the year, he was winning. Remember at Daytona, he won all those races, but he was wrecking everybody to do it. And then the whole Hendrick team was struggling. So Jimmy was off the hook. But now, like, William Byron's doing better, and he's running up front. Alex Bowman has a win. So now it's like, all right, Hendrick's doing decent. Now Jimmy's got to pick it back up. So
yeah,
we'll see.
So you can't blame the equipment now is really.
You're right.
So, all right, moving on to the Xfinity Series, I guess. The big story there was the sweeper truck, right?
Yeah, I didn't get to see the Iowa race. I was racing at Wall Stadium. I did see, was it Chase Briscoe, that one?
1 second. I will confirm. Yes.
The only local connection I have with that Chase Briscoe team is Woody. Woody's a longtime crew member for Jamie Tomino. He worked with me with Truex, and he worked for Donnie Ling, and he's been around racing forever. He's a truck driver for that team. So Woody was able to get a win over the weekend with his driver Chase Briscoe out in Iowa. I did see on Facebook when Woody came home, he drove the hauler back from Iowa and came home. His family made him a cake, congratulating him on the win and everything like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Woody's been around for racing forever, and before Woody went racing full time as a career, he was a tow truck driver, just like me. He worked for Heritage Towing up in Red Bank area. So it's pretty cool that Woody's been involved in racing forever, and he was on a team now that got a win in the Xfinity Series. So congratulations to Woody and his team. The only other exciting news I've seen come out of the Xfinity race was Dylan Bassett hit the sweeper truck, and he hit it a ton. Josh, did you see the guy in the driver of the sweeper truck? He got knocked all around that cab.
Oh,
and
yeah.
those sweeper trucks, let me tell you, I own a towing business, and through Blue Ridge Junkyard every once in a while, we get calls to go pick up those sweeper trucks for scrap, and I get mad because I know what they weigh and what kind of money they would bring, but they're too heavy for my truck. Like, they're over 10,000 pounds, those trucks. They're around the 16,000 pound range, those size sweeper trucks. And he hit that thing so hard with his 3,400 pound race car, he lifted the back wheels up off the ground off that thing, It was a scary moment because we watched it a few times. Me and Nancy watched it a few times, and you could see the driver of that truck in the cab literally flopping around inside there because he wasn't expecting it. He's doing 1 mile an hour sweeping all covered in dust. He doesn't have a seatbelt and stuff on. You know what I'm saying? It was just a weird deal. And just like anything else in racing, I mean, we got to blame the spotter for that one. But then again, we can't blame the spotter. There's a sweeper truck in front of you. Don't run into it. What are you looking at? Everybody's like, oh, the dust was blocking his view. Yeah, I understand that the dust was blocking his view. But he had to know the dust was coming from somewhere. You got to go around that dust ball,
Like, Tim, what did you say? His spotter was taking a leak?
He was under caution. Maybe the spotter was going to the bathroom. I don't know.
And I tell you what, when I listen in the spotters, they mention everything on the racetrack. They're like, all right, the cleanup crew's down in turn 1, or there's a sweeper truck down low, or there's a car stalled here, or there's a piece of tire laying here, or this guy threw his water bottle out here. Like, Tim, would you, in a situation like that, would you even warn your driver, or would you just be like, it's so obvious I don't have to warn him?
No, something like that. I would say something. Yeah.
Especially when you're coming to pit road, right? Because he was coming down pit road. That's why.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
You would definitely say, "Hey, there's some sweeper trucks before the entrance of pit road. Make sure you go around them or something," right?
Yeah. Now, a lot of times NASCAR will tell us to tell them too.
Right.
Spotters remind your driver there's a track crew here or track crew there. But there are some incidents too, like you said, it's so obvious that you don't say every little thing, but that's something you would say.
I mean, even at our short track rover at Wall Stadium, we had some pretty major cleanups this Saturday in the factory stock race, and they would tell us, "Hey guys, track crews go high around the track cone between 1 and 2. Stay high. The track crew's down low. Please don't hit the guys in the orange suits." And Eric Grant would say it every lap. Like, it wasn't just the first lap. Every lap, all right, guys, you're coming back up the track crew. Track crew's still on the track. Please be careful, track crew.
Yeah. Now I remember one night I was somehow in the lead. And I think Warren was driving the pace truck, and he stopped on the backstretch. Now, I was looking out my left window to see where the track crew was, so I knew who was standing where, so I could pick where I'm going to, not hit anybody. And Warren stopped, and all of a sudden I look ahead, and I had to jam on the brakes because nobody told us that he was stopping.
Well, unfortunately, Nancy had a little incident like that Saturday, but she was on the receiving end of it. She came up to me after the race. She's like, "Scott, you're going to have to look at the back of my car again." Jerry Koenig ran into the back of me again. I thought it was like during the race. I'm like, all right, no problem. I built the back of that car tough. And so I didn't think nothing of it. I did like peek under it, and it looked fine. And I was getting changed because we wanted to go in the stands and watch the modified race. Well, here I see Jerry Koenig walking up, and he's like, had like a weird look on his face. I'm like, oh man, is he mad at Nancy? I still didn't know what happened on the racetrack, so
Right.
he was walking over like a bull, so I kind of met him in the middle, and I'm like, what's up, Jerry? He's like, oh, where's Nancy at? I said, yeah, she said you ran on the back of him. What happened? He's like, oh my God, I gotta apologize to her. So I know he wasn't over there to like be mad at her. He's like, I got spun. The yellow came out. I'm looking across the track to try to see who spun me, and next thing I look up, and they had stopped the field on the front straightaway. And Jerry said the next thing he knows, he looks up, Nancy stopped dead in the track, and he said he just clobbered her, man. And the reason I reclipped that car, put a rear clip on it and made it so tough in the back, is because last year he did the same thing, and it was before the green flag even came out. It was under hot laps. You know how they make you go fast and then you line back up? Well, Nancy was lining back up. She got to the tail of the field, and she stopped, and he plowed right in the back of her, and he bent the rear clip on the car.
Sounds like that guy definitely needs a spotter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry came over, apologized, make sure there was nothing wrong with the car, and make sure Nancy was okay. I'm like, Nancy, kick his ass, man. That's the second time he's run into the back. Yeah. All right, we're moving on to the trucks now. The trucks were also at Pocono. Another race I didn't get to see.
Oh, did you want to do the top five for Xfinity real quick?
Yeah, if you have it, go ahead.
Yeah, so the top five, Chase Briscoe, Christian Bell, Nemechek, Noah Gragson, and Tyler Reddick.
Give that to me one time. You broke up a little bit, Josh.
I already clicked over to the trucks. Hang on. Chase Briscoe, Christian Bell, Nemechek, Noah Gragson, and Tyler Reddick.
And it was kind of cool about that because the Cup guys were in Pocono and the Xfinity guys were in Iowa. None of the Cup guys went out there to race, so it was all, if you just noticed, it was all Xfinity names in the top five there.
Right.
It kind of gave them a time to shine. It was good to see Nemechek have a third place finish.
Although I did see, was it Riley Herbst, 0 points.
He might be something else. He might not be eligible for points in that race.
Okay, all right, that must be because he finished.
He's a K&N guy. Riley Herbst, isn't he a K&N guy?
I believe that's where he came from. Yeah. And then there's another one down here. Murphy finished 24th, also 0 points.
Okay.
And JJ Yaley, DNF, 0 points. He finished last though. Interesting. I need to watch more. I ended up staying up not staying up, but I watched the replays of the IndyCar and Formula One races because I figured you guys weren't going to watch those.
Well, one other thing funny happened in the Xfinity qualifying. Did you see that they left Morgan Shepherd's steering wheel on his roof? Not the steering wheel he races with, but when they push the cars out, the crew members steer it with a different steering wheel.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw it rolling down the.
Yeah, he left it on his roof and he left to go out on the track, and it was this weird seeing a steering wheel rolling down the track because you don't think that. The crew guys pushed the car out with a different steering wheel. And they laid it on the roof. Then they put his racing wheel on. So at first you're like, "Oh my God, the guy's steering wheel fell off and fell out the window and everything." But then you realize it was the crew steering wheel that they pushed the car with. It was just something.
He was out there holding on to the spline, turning that.
I tell you what, there is. I sent it to Ron Becker one time. There is a YouTube video of a 4-cylinder guy. Mm-hmm. He's racing and his steering wheel comes off and he grabs the spline with his hand and he finishes the race steering it with his bare head.
Thank God for power steering.
I've tried to do that, just backing my car in and out of the garage, and guess what? I can't turn it by my hand without a steering wheel.
Quick Josh Matthews story.
We ain't got time for one of them.
This is very quick. Coming off a 2 in practice, I know you always pull back in your steering wheel to check and make sure it's locked. Apparently, I thought mine was, and it slipped off, and luckily I was pointed just a little bit down the track. I grabbed onto that spline with a death grip, and it did almost nothing. It might have done something, but luckily I was pointed more towards the infield, and I got it stopped. And yeah, but that was a fun moment.
The only thing I ever came close to my steering wheel falling off, it wasn't because of the disconnect on the shaft itself, but I did have the bolts loosen up that go through your steering wheel to the disconnect. Like during the race, I could feel my steering wheel was getting real wobbly, but it was a heat race and there was only a lot to go. And I finished when I pulled in the pits. My uncle was like, "How's the car?" I'm like, "It was good, but the steering wheel's falling off." He's like, "What are you talking about?" We took the pad off and the 3 bolts that hold it together were loose, so we tightened them. So that's something I put on my checklist. It's something you don't think about because, it's something you put together at the beginning of the year. You put it in the car and you never think it loosens up. But from that point forward, every couple of weeks, I do take the pad off and, it's a 7/16 wrench and I just make sure the bolts are tight.
Loctite, baby.
Yeah, but then Loctite's good. But then if you ever got to take it off to put a new steering wheel on or, adjust it or something, it's a pain. So it does have lock washers,
Mm-hmm.
It's just something you should check every once in a while.
And also make sure your welds on there are good too, because Neil Rutt had the weld break from the steering column that holds the spline bit. Not on the wheel. Yeah, not on the wheel end, but the actual spline bit, and the weld snapped and the steering wheel came off, and he hit the turn 2 wall pretty good.
All right, moving on the trucks. They raced at Pocono as well on Friday. I did not see that race either. I was on my way to Grandview Speedway to race an Outlaw Enduro Series race. One of the weird things about that race was Stuart Friesen won Stuart Friesen went into turn 1, 3 wide, cut down on the bottom, lost it, backed it in the fence, wiped out his truck, lap 1, turn 1. I don't see him ever doing that again. I think he learned a valuable lesson. That I was real bad for guys that. What's that?
We know somebody else close to the podcast that had some issues on turn 1, lap 1 lately. Eric Lane, when he finally made his return, he didn't make it through the first turn at the.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Right. I always feel bad for guys like that because you sit there all day. You pay your way in, you practice, you qualify, you're there all day, all weekend, whatever you want to call it, and very first lap, first corner, you're wrecking, it's over. I don't. And Stuart Friesen's a great race car driver. He just made a mistake, and he's another one in the hunt for points. And
I was getting ready to say this isn't the first mistake he's made all year long. He's made quite a few. Yeah, I don't. I know he's got money behind him and everything, but the top 3 in NASCAR, you can only make so many mistakes before they start, catching up to you. So,
and he left there 32nd position, so he lost a ton of points. Tim, do you think this is something that happened to Stewart? Maybe he wasn't focused because he's racing so much in so many different type of cars, or you just think he went forward?
I don't think it's anything to do with him racing all the cars. I mean, maybe he could if he was tired, but it was a Friday. It's not like it was Sunday afternoon. Yeah. You know what I mean? No, I don't think the extra racing has anything to do with it. I just think, I don't know, he's got to take a little bit more time doing what he's doing. Like, I think he's frustrated he hasn't won yet, He's used to he's admitted in many of the interviews that he's used to winning, and he's not winning, and it's frustrating him.
Right.
He's making too many mistakes. My point being is that you only make so many mistakes there before they start looking at these guys and saying, is it worth it? But then again, if he's got a sponsor behind him, he'll stay there.
All right, Josh, you have the top 10 of the truck race?
Yeah. I clicked on the wrong thing. Ross Chastain, Tyler.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We want to talk about that. I forgot about that. Ross Chastain won again with our buddy Phil Gould. That's their fourth win of the year. I'm really 5, but they got the one taken away from him, so that's his 4th win of the year. It was good to see our buddy Phil Gould. He's been on our show. Former street soccer racer at Wall Stadium, winning at Pocono. It's probably the closest track, other than Dover, that the trucks race. So it's kind of a hometown show for him. I know he was from North Jersey, so that he's probably actually closer to his home, Pocono, than Dover. So big win for Phil. That team is kicking butt, and they're beating some bigger teams like the Kyle Busch teams and stuff like that with a small team. So congratulations to Phil. He doesn't have the RPM podcast curse.
Should we get him a sticker?
I'll have Nancy send them down a couple of stickers. That's a good idea.
How great would it be to see one on the truck if he could sneak it on there?
I mean, Nancy, the way they're going, they're in the truck chase, and hopefully he makes it to the Final Four down there in Homestead, because Nancy are going to Miami Homestead this year for NASCAR Championship weekend. So I hope to see Phil down there, and maybe we'll slip an RPM podcast sticker on the truck down there.
I would look, because Neil Rutt tagged a few of us in a picture of our sticker on his car as he crosses the finish line.
I was gonna send you a picture of me on the track at Grandview with the RPM podcast sticker on it, but I can't figure out how to make that little circle around there like he did on the picture. Like, I was hitting edit it and all that stuff where the pen mark is. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, usually a little pen or a feather will come up and you can circle it with that.
Mine's got a little pen, and then it would say I use photo this or photo that, and it was I don't know. I couldn't.
I did it all right in Messenger.
Go outside and get one of the 12-year-olds that are playing in the front yard.
So I wanted to show that I had the RPM podcast sticker on my car too, but I didn't know how to circle it. So. It's like you emailed me for about 10 minutes.
Oh, goodness. And he's a champion, folks. So another surprise, and this is good surprise, Tyler Ankrum in second for the truck race. Now, he just had that win.
Kind of backs up it.
So that shows it wasn't a fluke. They're showing some consistency. That's really good to see. I mean, it's a name that we're not used to hearing, and I think that's awesome. Change can be good. Harrison Burton third, Eccles fourth, Brett Moffitt in fifth, Matt Crafton in sixth, Tyler Gilliland in seventh, Johnny Sauter, Ben Rhodes, and Grant Enfinger round out your top 10. A lot of those names, yeah, we're pretty familiar with. Hey, Natalie Decker finished. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like 15th or 16th, right?
16th, yeah. That was impressive, considering her record. There's Stewie all the way down at the bottom there, which is unfortunate, but I mean, it was a mistake. It was a poor decision, and things happen. That's all you can say. So,
all right, Josh, real quick with the Indian F1 stuff.
Okay, so
Scott says, "Hurry up with that stuff."
Yeah, I read between the lines there. There's some early excitement contact between the Schmidt-Peterson cars, and that ended a few guys a day early. It was a lot of tight racing. They were in a bit of a pack. Now, for the size of Mid-Ohio, and it being a road course, there were cars bunched together for pretty much the entire race. They were never far apart. It was good racing. In fact, go to the end, Dixon gets the win, but if you actually look at the time, Rosenquist was 0.09 seconds behind him. I mean, it was a close race right to the finish. I mean, all the cars, let's see, the farthest back on the lead lap was 46 seconds behind, and you had 13 cars there. It was a good race. I'm not saying it was quite as good as last year's, but it was a good race. It was exciting. And now they have some time off because their next race is going to be the Pocono race, which I'm going to August 18th, I believe it is.
That's not too long, though. It's only, 3 weeks?
Yeah, a couple weeks. But, I mean, when you're used to going week after week, or like Scott running, several times in a weekend. But honestly, it was a good race. If you have the NBC Sports app or on your TV or your phone, go ahead and watch the replay. It was fun. Formula One, I'm going to get to that real quick.
Josh, just real quick while we're still on Pocono.
Oh, you want to know?
How did you order the tickets? Online, or do you call the track? Or?
Online. I do everything online. If I actually have to talk to somebody, I'm probably not going to do it.
but you'll host a podcast. But God forbid if you got to pick up the phone and call somebody.
The camera doesn't talk back to me, Scott.
Now, what are they? They send you something you got to print out?
Yeah, I do the print at home. It's free because otherwise, if you want it delivered, it's like, even if you want it like through snail mail, like USPS, it's like $3 charge. I'm like, I'm not.
I was even going to go a step further with technology. I didn't know if they were still doing the printout thing or if they sent you something to your phone, like a barcode to your phone, because that's what NASCAR is doing now.
I believe I could bring up the PDF on my phone and they could scan that too. But I did the printout. It's nice to have something solid as a little reminder. It was a little more expensive than I remember from last year. Our tickets were $175 a piece.
Yeah, they were $150 last year because I looked into that.
But
you know what's crazy about that? And I always thought it was weird is the pricing's the same for the IndyCar race as the Cup race. I think the IndyCar was much cheaper than the Cup race.
Yeah, considering the popularity of each series, yes, I would agree. But I now keep in mind, I'm not a huge fan of the price, but we're getting a shaded grandstand level. So even if it's blazing sunlight, we'll have some shade and a nice breeze coming through. We have access to bathrooms on the same level that we're at. There's concessions up there, so you don't have to walk all the way up and down the grandstands.
Yeah, I've been up there in Pocono at that level. And it's nice. It's nice up there.
It is nice. And on top of that, we have the pit paddock pass. So Sunday morning, like from 8 a.m. till like I want to say like noon or something, we can wander around in the pits and you'd be right in the garages and like you can't go in the garage, but you can stand just outside the garage, see them working on the cars, and maybe you can almost get run over by some of the drivers like I did last year on their little.
And the one time I stayed up, I think I was the next level up. it was like $250 a ticket.
Yeah, they do have like a terrace club, which I think
Yeah.
that was going to come with complimentary food and drinks, which is cool.
It was all free. Plus, we got like VIP parking. There's like a little paved parking lot, like right behind the grandstands. That was nice, parking up front there.
So I opted to get the scanner instead of the free food because I'm probably just going to get a burger and a soda or something. 'Cause the thing is, I wouldn't mind having a couple beers, but I also don't want to have to get up to take a leak every 5 minutes. So I tend to not drink too much at the track. I'll just have a soda and enjoy my day. But I'm looking forward to it. It's probably about a 3-hour drive to get out there for me. Just gotta watch it. There was one exit I remember that was it came up fast and it was a really sharp exit ramp. So I just have to remember that for this year when I go out there because that was taking the turn with the tires screaming.
Who's going? You and your dad?
Yeah, just me and my dad, like last year. So I'm looking forward to it. I think he had a good time last year.
Yeah, that's a great trip with your father to go to. It's something you cherish, you know.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, we both wore our podcast shirts last year, so we'll probably do the same thing this year. And it was nice. I had a good time. I mean, yeah, the day was marred by Robert Wickens' accident. I mean, it's hard to believe that's coming up on a year already. But otherwise, we did have a really good experience there, you know, minus that accident. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to going back. So, yeah, it's going to be good. Now, with that said, like I said, I can't speak highly enough of the race. I'm not going to go through every little, you know, incident or, you know, who banged wheels with what. I'm just saying it was a close finish. There were some great passes. There was a lot of, you know, excitement. Formula One was entertaining. It was a bit of a cluster F. Honestly, it was raining. And then it went into dry. People were switching from intermediates. The track was still wet, and they were going out on the super soft slick tires. Guys were sliding off, and they have a drag strip there as well. And they went off the racetrack a little bit, got into just a little bit of dampness, and then slid across the top of the drag strip, which was pretty much equivalent to an ice rink for these cars. They were sliding into the wall. Hamilton slid off. I'm trying to think who of who didn't slide off over there, but it was very exciting, and there were a few penalties handed down. Hamilton, it was not his day. He got an additional penalty after he slid off the track and ripped part of the front wing off his car. He went in on the wrong side of the commitment cone to the pits, and he received a 5-second penalty for that. So it was just a rough day for him. Now Daniel Kvyat for Toro Rosso made it, podium finish, third place. Max Verstappen got the win. He had a great drive throughout the whole race. I mean, he was there. He had a terrible start. I mean, there was the wheel spin on the start. He had no traction, couldn't get going. Now, one thing that I did notice, and I really wanted to bring up, was with the passing that we see in Formula One, you'll see the guy get on the inside. Let's say he dives in and goes to make a move. He will fine. He has position, and Tim, you're used to this as a spotter, saying the guy, you know, he's inside. Okay, great, but you still got to give the guy on the outside some room. You can't just run him off the damn tracker into the wall, right? And I'm seeing these guys just, you know, they take that inside line, they go to make the pass, and then they shoulder or give them the, you know, wide hips and just run them off the track to complete the pass. They run. I mean, it'll still be asphalt, it'll still be paved, but they're definitely outside the rumble strips, and I can't figure out, you know, why they're allowed to do that. I mean, it's
if there's no repercussion from the officials, and they're going to keep on doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know why that's allowed. I mean, I thought even in karting, which is, you know, these guys all come from go-karts and everything, you still had to give the guy on the outside a racing line. You know, you can run them as, you know, pretty high up, but you got to give them a lane to work with. You can't just shoulder them off the damn track, and that's what these guys are doing. And I mean, I understand if it was wet and you slipped and you got loose or whatever and there was contact, but this is how they're making their passes, just by shoving everybody out of the way. But other than that, it was. Hang on, let's see what else. I want everybody to know there was a Ferris wheel at the Formula One race. I did. It was there. And now another thing that was interesting, the virtual safety car came out a couple times, and it's supposed to be 40% of the race pace. And I don't know how they actually do that. Is it set like the same way the NASCAR guys use RPMs and go, oh, we'll just set to this mark when you're under virtual safety car, or do they have something? Because they have data that will tell if people are going slower or backing up, because there were a few guys that were busted for trying to go slower under the virtual safety car and back the field up, so that way they weren't going to be stacked up and losing time in the pits when they were pitting both cars. And let's see. And another thing I take issue with, if you're gonna they issue an extra point, a championship point, for setting the fastest lap of the race. But you don't get it unless you're within the top 10. If you're not within the top 10 positions, that lap won't count towards a point.
And maybe they don't want you laying back and trying to set like a time trial lap.
Well, if you're outside the top 10, you get 0 points for when you finish the race anyway.
Oh, okay. All right. So you got to finish top 10 to claim that point.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. That's pretty cool. I think that's a great idea. Whoever sets the fast lap of the race gets a point. That's pretty cool.
Well, I like that. I don't like let's say Hamilton sets the fastest lap and then a few laps later crashes and now it has to go to somebody else.
It should be just whoever sets the fast lap of the race at the end of the race gets a point. I like it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice little bonus.
Ferrari had an unsafe release. They instead of getting a time penalty, they are getting a monetary penalty because they don't want to blame the driver. They want to blame the crew. And then Max Verstappen had a 2-second pit stop, 2.0 on the clock. I mean, the fastest I saw for like the Mercedes guys was like 2.6. I mean, that's so hard to fathom. 2 seconds, all the tires, and you're out. It's
nuts.
It's nuts. It's really insane. So, but it was a fun race to watch. And I will say, I used the ESPN app and I watched the replay of it. Still, 0 commercials. It is the Sky Sports broadcast. There are no commercials at all. You watch the race from beginning to end without any breaks. It's really a neat experience, and I think America needs more of that. But because I can't tell you how many NASCAR races it's been like the commercial 500. But yeah, so we're going to go to the results. Verstappen with a win. Sebastian Vettel had to start last. He started 20th and finished second. So that was a heck of a run for him. Daniel Kvyat in third. Lance Stroll, Carlos Sainz, Albon, Roman Grosjean, Kevin Magnussen, Lewis Hamilton in ninth, and Robert Kubica in 10th. So there you have it for that, and now we can move on to our local segment. I hope that was fast enough for Scott.
Yeah, that was good, but just one quick thing before we move to the local. Saturday afternoon, before I went to the racetrack, they had the W Series on. Did you watch any of that?
No,
the Women's Series? I tell you what, I like those cars. Those cars are cool. Yeah. They're like mini Formula One cars, slower and stuff. The only bad thing is they're so equal. The race wasn't very exciting. It's kind of like follow the leader, But it was cool. They were cool cars, like big Formula cars, or little Formula One cars, big, Formula 2000 cars or whatever you want to call them,
Right.
They had the halos on them and all that stuff like that. It's a pretty cool series. I kind of enjoyed the race,
I am happy to see the halos on everything, Formula E and like the W and everything else. I think that's a very positive move. Now I'll have to see if I can find a replay of that. Maybe I'll watch it after I'm done editing tonight.
All right, so moving to the local. What do you guys want to talk about first? Wall Stadium?
You want? Well, let's just address the whole thing. There was a huge article, and we kind of held back from sharing anything because we wanted all the facts to come out. And apparently, a developer was trying to rile some people up or gain favor for their position where they want to develop the track property. But the township, I believe it was that night, later that evening, shot down that whole thing. The property is not being developed for 350 or so houses, as the article shared. So the track is safe for the time being. Things aren't perfect. We all know that. The Kraus family has been doing an incredible job running the facility, especially through the tough times that they've been through, losing Cliff. And I just want to give them a lot of credit. They've had pretty damn consistent car counts. They've had good crowds. And I think, if anything, the rumor or whatever that of the track being sold or whatever had helped the crowd Saturday night, because from the pictures I saw, it was a damn good crowd.
Yeah, it was a great crowd Saturday night. I want to thank all the fans for coming out. Another reason why the crowd was so big, I mean, it might have been a little bit of the rumor of the track closing down and people wanted to show their support, but it was Champions Night. And, man, I seen faces at that racetrack that I haven't seen in a long time, and I've seen a lot of new faces. Champions Night is something that Ray Shea does. Ray Shea is the president of the Garden State Vintage Stock Car Club. He does a great job organizing this. I think we had 40 past champions there, going all the way back to the 60s and maybe even the 50s. I know Johnny Lures was there. I think he was a sportsman champion like in 64 or 65. You had all the greats like Gil Hearn and Tony Siscone. And I didn't see John Blewett Jr. there, though. Tim, was John Blewett there?
No, I didn't see him there either.
Was Terry
Jimmy
Kane
Blewett
there?
was there. Terry Kane, they had a spot for him and it all set up, but Rob Long, I was sitting next to Rob Long, who knows Terry Kane and Mel Kane. He said Terry wasn't feeling well, so he wasn't able to make it to the track. There was a couple old timers that didn't make it. It was hot, and a lot of them did call Ray and said that they weren't feeling well, weren't up to it. But then again, they had Bob Rosell was there. There was Kevin Ayers was there.
I love Kevin Ayers' signature.
Yeah, Elliott Wall. They gave out these cards with all the champions list on it, and it was cool seeing my name on the same paper as, say, like Tony Siscone and Gil Hearn and all them. So I have a crew guy named Brandon. He's a young kid, about 22 years old. He comes and helps us at the racetrack. I said, Brandon, can you please get those cards, and can you have everybody sign them? It's something I want to keep for myself. I want to have a championship card with all the champion signatures with my name on it, something I can keep. So he did that for me, and when I got the card back, I looked at Kevin Ayers' signature, and he signed it Elliott Wall. It was definitely cool. And I think that and another cool thing I seen is some people had some old stuff they bought with them. I mean, some people had programs from the 60s that were having Gil Hearn sign and Charlie Kramer Jr. and stuff like that. So it was definitely some of the people that haven't been there in a long time came out for this night because they got to see the people they used to root for when they went back there in their heyday of going to Wall Stadium. It drew a crowd, man. Unfortunately, I want to apologize to everybody. I'm not an old timer yet, and I'm still racing, so I missed half the autograph session. The autograph session started at 5. Well, heat races started at 5:45. Practice was over at 5. I had to get my car ready for the heat race. Nancy's car ready. Had to race my heat race. I was able to win the heat race. Then after the heat race, I had to mount tires for the feature, and luckily Jimmy Herbert came over, and he said, Scott, they're calling you to this autograph session. I said, Jimmy, I got to mount these tires. He's like, I'll mount them before you go over to the autograph session. So I finally made it over there. So I missed a good half of the autograph session. I want to apologize to everybody for that, but I was there racing, you know what I'm saying? The racing came first, but it was cool. When I did finally walk over there, I saw the line of people waiting to get autographs, and I'm like, wow, this is big. You know, it was cool.
Yeah, there was definitely a good crowd there. Going back to Pocono, during the coverage on TV, they did that, my home track, and they did Wall Stadium for Pocono, and they talked about it after it was over. Dale Jr.'s crew chief that does the announcing now, whatever his name is,
Steve Letarte.
He said, yeah, unfortunately, the track is in jeopardy of losing, becoming, staying a racetrack because the property is worth more than the business. So it didn't, where he heard it from, I don't know, but it didn't make, headlines that people like that heard about it. So,
I I was listening to satellite radio, and Dave Moody had Ryan Truex on, and Dave Moody mentioned it to Ryan that he heard that wall was closing down, and Ryan kind of answered the same way I answered. He's like, I've been hearing that every year since I was a kid, and it still has it, and it remains open. So please just go there and support it. You know, we've been hearing that rumor forever. So just keep going like it's going to be open. And we were at the campground when they did that pre-race show about Wall Stadium on the NASCAR broadcast. And Nancy might have had a couple of drinks by then, and she came running over. Did you hear them saying that they're closing Wall Stadium on the NASCAR channel? I said, Nancy, they said it was rumor. Like, she was like getting ready to tweet the guy that said it and everything like that. But I said, Nancy, before you say anything, let's listen to it again. They did say rumored, and it might not happen and stuff like that. So they kind of stated it the right way.
Now, one thing I want to bring this up. I don't want to waste too much time on it, but I saw a few different posts of people suggesting ways to, preserve the future of the track, such as like a GoFundMe where everybody donates and buys the track or whatever. People want to declare it a landmark, and I'm not saying that's wrong. I think it is a landmark in a lot of ways. But my thought was. Because there's a local Albert Music Hall. It's in Waretown. It's like 2 minutes away from my house. They were able to get that property donated to them from the school. It's in the school parking lot here in town, and they have a structure, a nice hall, and they have music every Saturday night. And everybody that works there is a volunteer, but. There's a small admission to get in, and that helps it's a non-profit organization, and it's a historical society. And I was wondering, is there a way, potentially, I'm not saying it would be easy, but potentially to have the track run as a non-profit, because I remember Cliff Krause was talking about just breaking even.
Yeah, well, here's the problem, Josh. The owners that own that property are wanting to sell it at a profit. They don't want to make it a historical society.
They certainly donate it. They're not donating it to anybody.
They're not donating it, and they're not selling it cheap. And they don't want it to be a historical landmark. They want to sell it to build houses on. Us as racers and the people that promote the racetrack, yeah, they might want that, but the owners, they bought it to make profit.
I was going to say, if there was any way that it could get sold, and instead of one family just taking a risk on it, if there was a way to somehow preserve it, for the future like that. Do you think a track could operate like that? Is the first question.
It's going to take another joint venue of wealthy people for conversation. Yeah. Let's say if Ray Abraham contacted Bruce Springsteen and they're like, hey, you like New Jersey just as much as I do. You, me, Tony Stewart, and Dale Jr. can buy it. Something like that. But they get like four middle of the road people, wealthy people, business owners. I don't think it's going to happen for the price they want for it.
Right.
And it's not got to do with the zoning. And it's what that meeting was about. It was about zoning. Right now, it's not zoned for houses. If it ever becomes zoned for houses, it's a whole new ball game. Until then, it's going to be like this hit or miss. And my opinion is, and I've told Scott this privately, that people might not like this, but as far as Wall Stadium goes, we've been beating this dead horse since Jim Morton took it over. You know what I mean?
Right.
How many more years? Believe me, the last thing I want to see is this place get closed. I want my girls to race there eventually. How many more years can we do this? Not knowing from year to year. It's sooner or later there's not going to be another year.
Right.
Until somebody takes over the racetrack.
This is what I got out of it, just reading between the lines. Number one, it was kind of a good thing because we haven't been hearing nothing past 2019. Really, it's Diane's last year. This year, we're pretty much thinking it's over 2019. The one positive thing I got out of the article is that the owners are willing to keep it a racetrack through 2020, and then Diane came out with a statement saying that she is working on signing the contract for 2020. So in my mind, I got excited because that's another year that I didn't know we were going to have.
Right.
The bad thing is I also took in mind, no matter what happens with the zoning and stuff, the owners don't want to rent it out past 2020,
Right.
So then me as a racer, I'm just like, well, whatever race cars I have, that's what I'm using up. I'm not freshening the motor up. I'm not putting a new body on it. I'm just using my stuff up. You know what I'm
anyone
saying?
anyone that has wronged Scott over the past I don't know how many years is going to get it in 2020 because
No, I would never do nothing like that. I'm just thinking money wise, like, you know, some people are like, oh, I'm going to sell my car. I'm like, I'm just going to use my equipment up. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's not broke where I can't go out on the track, I'm not fixing it. I'm just using what I have, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that Diane is still trying to go at least another year with it is, I mean, I say what you want. I know everybody does. Not everybody loves her, but she's doing a hell of a job, and she does. She's trying. I mean, she's putting the track as a priority and taking that sacrifice and putting the effort in for it. And
I mean, if you compare the way car counts, you know, fans in the stands from now till 5 years ago, she's definitely made an improvement. I mean, it is working. You know,
on the fan sides, the fans seem happy. There's always something going on. And even from the racer side, I mean, I really have no complaints on my side either. I think Rob Heyer and his guys are doing a great job with tech. I mean, I really go there with no complaints. Yeah, I really don't, you know. It's a well-run racetrack now. I also have a bad feeling that everybody thinks that we're going to have like a final race and stuff like that. I don't know why. I just have a bad feeling one of these days we're just going to pull up to the track and the gate's going to be locked and that's going to be
what's going to happen. It's going to be Turkey Derby. You're going to have Turkey Derby, and it's going to be like everything else. You know, when is the next schedule coming out? When's the next schedule coming out? And it's just not going to come out, and that's going to be it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
yeah, everybody has all right, no racing after 2000. I don't know. I just have a bad feeling when things end, they end. And I just have a feeling that we're just going to race there. And one day we're all going to pull up there Saturday morning. And it's going to be like, no races here today. Sorry, folks. Wally World's closed, you know.
Moose out front should have told you.
The Moose out front should have told you. Basically how I think it's going to end over there. I don't think it's going to be some fairy tale last big hurrah race. I just think one day we're going to pull up and it's going to be over.
I hope not. I know we all hope not. But Scott, I know you're just going to keep racing. You'll race wherever, and I respect that. But you know, regardless, I think we all hope that the track will somehow continue on.
But you know, here's the thing too. I mean, we all love Wall Stadium. It's right here at the Jersey Shore. It's all within a half hour from all of us. But sometimes when a racetrack closes, it saves another racetrack, you know, because now all these people might go to Evergreen and race and help Evergreen. Now Evergreen will thrive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It all works out in the end, you know. Like everybody thought life was over when Flemington closed, and everybody just migrated somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, there's less and less places to migrate to, but like I said, I'm going to keep racing. You know.
I will say I like Evergreen. I enjoyed racing there, but given the choice between the two, I'd prefer Wall, not just for the drive, but I like that track. I love that banking.
Yeah.
That's you know my personal opinion. But Evergreen's a great track too, and I know that.
But then I talked to some long-time car owners like Harry Reid. He basically tells me, he's like, I'm going to race until Wall Stadium closes, and when they close, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like that's, you know, that's his answer to retirement. He's been doing it so long. He wants to ride it out to the end, and then once Wall closes, that twists his arm. All right, it's time after 50 years of racing. It's time to retire. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's say the track next year. Let's hope that there's another tour race that comes through. And
well, they said that was one thing in Diane's little press release too. She said, 2020, she wants to do it. She's waiting for the paperwork to come over to sign, which we didn't know before that bad article came out. So it did push her to announce something for next year. And she said she would like the tour race back.
I would like to see it back. That I had a good time that night. I know it didn't work out for everybody.
I tell you what, Tim, did last night feel like a little bit like the tour night? It had that type of atmosphere and crowd there.
That was great. Last night, Saturday was like you said, the place was packed. I haven't seen a line like that to get in the grandstand. And they literally had to hold the heat races or whatever the features back to. There were still people in line to get into the track to watch the races. So that was good. It was definitely a good night. They had a lot of people there supporting it, so that was good.
And also, Josh, too, I know you weren't there, but they had the pit set up like Turkey Derby style, where the trucks were parked that way for the pit stops and stuff like that. So that kind of gave it the big race feel too.
That always does. It really does. Where did you end up parking?
I parked in. You know what? The way I look at it, I pay for a parking spot. I love my parking spot. Mm-hmm. And this is the second time this year I wasn't allowed to park in my parking spot that I paid for because of the way they set the pits up. So when I got there, my uncle takes my tow truck up there first. He parked all the way at the very back in the pit road by the quarter midget track. So I got there, I parked next to him, we started unloading. Well, I walked up to the bathrooms. Well, when I walked up to the bathrooms, I noticed where Bill Vanderveen and Michelle Mormon parked, their late models, was wide open right by the concession stand because the late models weren't there. So I walked back to my uncle. I'm like, we're pulling up front, man. He's like, well, why is that? I said, listen, if I pay $200 for my 2 parking spots and they tell me I can't park there and I got a chance to upgrade, I'm going to upgrade. You know, I'm not going to go the other way. So we moved right up front. We parked right by the bathrooms, right by the concession stand. I did like that spot. The spot's good. It is fun kind of parking somewhere different. The only bad part was you can't, when you come off the track, you can't make the left and go past like the pit trailer and all that stuff. You got to go all the way around. And I tell you what, I picked up a lot of crap on my tires driving all the way around through the pits like that. You know, like zip ties and you know stuff like that. You know, pop rivet heads and stuff like that. And Nancy had a rag stuck to her tire and paper towels and stuff like that. So that was kind of bad.
I think we were talking about that over the loudspeaker.
What's that?
Nancy having stuff on the bottom of her car during the feature.
I tell you what, the pits were a little on the dirty side. It was kind of weird that we had picked up so much stuff on our tires pulling out onto the track.
Well, it's because the sweeper truck got hit the other night. That's why.
But I like the spot because you were next to the concession stands, the bathrooms. I could walk right into the grandstands. The only bad part, at first I liked it. Like everybody walked by would stop and talk to you. But like all night long, everybody's got to pass your pit spot to go into the grandstand. So it's like you're kind of like the town hall, kind of like everybody's stopping to talk. And, so it's a busy spot, but I liked it. It was cool parking up there, so it was kind of fun. That's where I ended up parking.
Well, they had dollar hot dogs, Josh.
Yeah, they had dollar hot dogs.
Eric Brennan's not here, so. Scott, before I forget, Marco Andretti finished 15th. I just wanted you to know that. One lap down.
On a big track. He was one lap down on a big road course.
I wanted to make sure I remember. So
you want to do the top? You want to do the results for Wall Stadium Saturday night?
Well, I don't have the wall pulled up right now. I have the Sunday series pulled up, which we'll get to in just a moment. I don't have a message board. Where's the message board? But Scott, how did your race go? Your feature race? Now that we've talked about everything but the racing.
My race went great. I started third and I finished second, but I did lead for a long time. And then on a restart, Elliott Wall was on the outside and he was able to get by me. Elliott's fast. He runs great. But part of the reason he could hang tough on the outside and eventually get in front of me was they did put a lot of the traction compound down on the outside. I mean, they really doused it for the modified race. So I think that really helped Elliott on the outside. There was a good outside lane because of the traction compound they put on the track. At first, I was a little embarrassed that I got beat by Elliott by him passing me on the outside. But then when I watched the modified race,
we started on the outside.
Yeah, those guys had a lane choice. The leader of the modified race could pick the inside or the outside, and every time they restarted, the leader would pick the outside and take off. So then I'm like, oh, no wonder why Elliott beat me. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't. I was a little dejected because how many times do you ever see me get passed on the outside, Josh? You know what I'm saying? And Elliott was able to do it, and then it realized to me while I was watching the modified race, I'm like, oh yeah, that traction compound worked up there, but they didn't give me a choice in my race,
Just so you know, Josh Matthews, the factory stock race was the longest race of the night. There was way too many cars.
We had a couple oil downs where the track got soaked, and it turned into the Speedy Dry 150 for us. They were really laying the Speedy Dry down on us. The beginning of our race was a little bit of a mess, but I think we made up towards the end.
Let me point out one other thing about that about the factory stocks, though. There were 25 cars in the factory stock race. The next highest was the modifieds with 20. You had 5 more cars on the track to cause chaos than anybody in any other division. So
yeah, but even when we have 25, 26 cars on, we usually don't have bad crashes like that where there's spillage all around the tracks. And a couple of people, one guy got a hold and knocked his, I guess he hit the back straight of the wall and knocked her out of here, and he drove around the whole track and soaked it, man. Like, so yeah. But other than that, we did have a good race, but yeah, we did soak down the track a couple of times.
yeah, it's unfortunate it happened. So, all right, Scott, you have some editing to do on your videos. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I tell you what, everybody yells at me that watches my in-car camera. I trim it the beginning of the race and the end of the race on my video camera, but I don't take the time to do it in the middle, so you're going to have to do some fast forwarding.
And that's when everybody was yelling at me about why isn't the video up yet? It's because I'm cutting all that crap out.
And I must have ran in the back of somewhere on one caution. I looked at my camera and it was facing down, like on my dashboard. So I don't even know how much of mine I missed. Under that caution, I grabbed the camera and stood it back up. So
hopefully we get a good look at your gauges for a while or something. So, all right. So the factory stocks top 10 was Elliott Wall, Scott Riggleman, Mike Montano, Brian O'Shea, Shannon Monjo, Joey Helberg, Tim Majek, Tom Ruszkowski, Joe Monjo, and John Bowers.
Tell me that ain't a stacked top 10, man. That's some pretty big names up there. You know what I'm saying? Our division's tough.
Seriously, I mean, I might finish the race if I was in that race. I don't know. Animal was back. That's good.
Yeah, he's back racing with us.
Good. That's good to see. He finished right behind Nick Kilmer, who listens to the show. A couple new names in here, but I want to get back in the car. One day.
I mean, our field's stacked. I left there dejected that I finished second. I won my heat race and finished second in the feature. But like you said, when you just read off of the list of names like that in the top 10, I'm like, I got to be happy with a second place finish. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we got some great race car drivers. Everybody's so fast in our division now. The cars are so much better now. It's tough. It's a tough racing over there. And last race I finished third and I got a second. So, things are going good for me. I'm third in points. I'm having a good year over there.
Legend cars, we'll do the top 10 there. Mike Alcaro. I mean, he comes out, he shows up and schools everybody, and then you'll see him again when you see him again.
Someone said he did announce Victory Lane that his car is for sale.
Yeah, he's building a new one.
Oh,
is he?
Well, I think you should always test out the new one compared to the old one first, because Joey Helberg, I think, hated his new car. He said the old one runs so much better. And who else?
Mikey Montano, they built that beautiful brand new car. He had Shannon Monjo driving the brand new one. Mikey says he loves his old one better. He still drives the old one.
Yeah. So Rob Silver second, Sean Verwees third, Joe McGrath, I'm going to butcher this one. Joe Przybaliński, Jim Downey, Peter Bruno, Quinn Trimmer, Kevin Pritchard, and Joe Fresco. And honestly, let's just go because there's only three more. Roger Nickerson, Eddie Idick, and a DQ of Mason McGee. Now, the four cylinders, Neil Rutt continues with his dominating streak with a very close finish. It was a photo finish between Neil Rutt, the third, and Alonso Morales. That's great for that division. They have a lot of really close finishes like that, which is great. Ryan Marr, Darian McLaren, Randy Hart, Doug Ashford, Marco Volsanic, Cody Critelli, Jeffrey Loesch, and Ricky Williams.
And we got to thank Rutt, Neil Rutt III. He did mention the RPM podcast in his interview on Victory Lane.
Yes, Neil. He's been on the show for quite a bit. Hasn't been on in a while. I think he's living, up in Edison now. So it's a little bit far. We have to get him a setup so he can call in. But he's been doing incredibly well, just racing all over the place. I mean, he's been invading and just dominating. He's a great driver. I respect him a lot, and I'm happy to see him doing well, and it was great to see that photo finish, and in the photo was our logo, so I feel like a true star now. And we're going to get to the modifieds now. Looks like Tim had a fun night. Tim, how did it go from your perspective?
It all started it was the day of the debacle of the news going, the track closing, the very first day of that.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up in the morning, and I woke up a little later than normal, and there was like 8 people had called me. It was like, all racing people. I'm like, oh, so something happened. And I went to Facebook right away. I went to Facebook and I figured out what it was. And then later on that day, Jimmy called me and said, "Do you have any commitments for this weekend?" Riverhead was racing. They had a big race up at Riverhead, and he thought maybe I was going there with Eric Goodale, but
Right.
Eric Goodale chose not to race. So I go, "Why? What's up?" He goes, "I want to come back to Wall and race Wall. It's a bigger race, and show a little support to the track after this news debacle." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll spot for you." So, typical race. Jimmy started where he did. Started third, I think, third or fourth. He made his way up to the lead, and we just riding around. Basically, it was kind of uneventful on my end. We had Ronnie Buck on the radio, who has been going with Andrew Krause for the last year or two, and that didn't work out anymore. And Jimmy asked him to fill in for Rob Ormsby because Rob Ormsby already had commitments with the 51 with the Bone Kid in it because Jimmy wasn't supposed to race. It was no more than that. A lot of people in the grandstands were trying to put more into all that nonsense. It's just that Rob had already had commitments, and Ronnie Buck was more than capable of doing it. And it was actually Ronnie Buck who told Jimmy to start on the outside of the, and it worked out.
I tell you what, I was down on turn 4 on that restart when Jimmy started on the outside. I've never seen a modified launch like he did on that restart. It looked like a top fuel dragster, Josh. he revved that car up and dumped the clutch, and the back tires lit up, and he just took off, man, in that traction compound. I was like, oh my God, I've never seen a modified restart like that. It was so awesome.
And then after all the the pitting, which is another thing, it's cool. The 125 races, there's pit stops. It makes it a little bit better for the fans and everything. And after we pitted and got back to the lead, Jimmy just said, "Keep me 1 car length ahead of Andrew," and that's what we did, and it worked out for us.
Andrew Krause finished second. I mean, it looks like he had a good race. Ricky Collins doing well, third.
He had a great run. It was really good to see Ricky have a good run. His family's been through a lot of troubles with that modified. Either it was wrecked or motor troubles. They actually went all the way up to Evergreen last week in practice and Beneval. So he didn't even get to race when he drove all the way out to Evergreen.
Wow.
I was really happy for Ricky and his family to have a good run. He ran a great race.
We had Danny Bone in fourth, Kenny Van Wickle, Stephen Reed, Dom Fataruzo, Jason Treat, Eddie McCarthy, and Blake Barney in 10th. Now, the sportsmen were off, so I have to ask, other than the factory stock oil downs there, what time did you guys get out of there?
Now
the race was over by 9:50.
9:50?
Yeah.
Wow.
But Josh, you understand, it was kind of a perfect night because there's only 4 divisions. There wasn't the normal 6, 7 divisions.
Yeah.
I really think that's something we got to go to, just a 4-division night, because sometimes it just takes forever to get all these races done.
And you got to remember too, Josh, we didn't start. They actually waited for the people to get into the grandstand, so they actually started a little bit later than they normally do too.
They also started a little bit later too because the autograph line was so long with the champions. They waited for that to die down too.
Which I will say, I mean, as much as you want to be punctual, I'm glad that the track did that to accommodate everybody. Let them get in, let them get the autographs, and then find their seats. I mean, that's literally catering to the fans. And
I don't know if Wall Stadium did this. They might have did it. I'm not saying they did or didn't. But when I was down at Disney one time with Nancy, she had plans with her friends, and I wasn't included in it. So I found something else to do, and I was down at I looked around to see what was going on in the area, and I got lucky. They were having the Governor's Cup race at New Smyrna. New Smyrna was only about an hour east of Disney World. So I said, Nancy, when you go out with your friends, I'm going to shoot over to New Smyrna to watch the Governor's Cup race. And when I pulled up, there was a line like there was at Wall Stadium, and I'm like, I don't feel like waiting in that damn line to get into a racetrack. So I walk up to the line, and the owner of the track realized he had a real long line out front, and he came up and set like a little table up on the side, and he had a handful of tickets, and he said, cash only, exact change line. You know what I'm saying? It was $20 to get in. So I just took $20 and went to that line. Like, he thought ahead. He saw a problem where the line was so backed up and fans weren't happy waiting in the line in the heat. So he came up. He set up another little ticket booth real quick, and it shortened the lineup because I ran right over there with $20 in my hand, paid and got in. It's just a way of keeping your customers satisfied.
Yeah.
Having a long line at the ticket booth is a good problem to have.
It is a good problem to have, but who knows? She might have opened up another ticket window. I didn't say she.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just saying, if you're a racetrack and you have a long line like that, you got to get your fans in quick. People don't want to wait in line. They just don't want to wait.
Oh yeah, especially today when you can have 2-day prime shipping on pretty much anything.
Another good thing for the fan. Well, I don't know if it was a good thing for the fans, but the modifieds ran last, and a lot of people stayed, and a lot of people went in the pits.
Yeah.
After the race,
I was out of there already.
It was that was the most people I saw in the pits in a long time, so that was good. The little kids in there getting their autographs and stuff.
That's awesome. I love that. Man, I mean, it sounds like overall it was just a good night for the track, and Tim, you had a good night.
It was a picture-perfect night at the racetrack. It really was. I didn't see any fighting in the pits. I mean, I know one legend car got DQ'd, but I don't know what it was for. It was a great night at the racetrack. I really left there happy.
Yeah, it was good. One thing I want to say is all the people that came over to me to get stickers all had nice things to say. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to be there this Saturday. Scott, you're not racing this Saturday, right?
We are off. I'm not 100% sure what we're doing this weekend, but it is ladies' night, so I'm not sure if Nancy's going there to sign autographs or not yet. So I'm not sure if we're going to be there or not yet. We haven't decided what we're doing yet this weekend. There's a lot going on this weekend that we're thinking about doing, and that kind of gets us to the next thing. I mean, number one, the Cup cars are at Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen's famous for their wineries. Nancy loves wineries and racing. It's only 5 hours away. We might shoot up to Watkins Glen and go up to the Cup race. Another thing that's going on.
Before you get too far ahead, we finish the whole Steve thing, then you can go on with that. I may or may not be there this Saturday. Like I said, if I'm there, I'll have more. I do have some more stickers left. Please come over and get them for me. The people that did come over and had good things to say, thank you. And the one thing I wanted to say about Wall Stadium people, it's all, people our age. When all this broke out that the track was, I didn't say anything to the girls, and we had no cable for 3 or 4 days after that storm hit.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day, the girls woke up and that was that day, and the TV finally came on, and when we turn our cable boxes on here, they automatically go to channel 12 News. That's where they start.
Mm-hmm.
And she turned the TV on, and sure enough, the thing was on there was about Wall Stadium.
Oh boy!
And Bailey was beside herself, like angry, crying. This can't happen. Blah blah blah. So I felt bad, and I'm sure I'm not the only parent that, if Wall Stadium would have closed when me and Scott were told, we probably would have been devastated too. But I hope for the younger generation it stays around a little bit longer. That's all.
And that's exactly it. I tell people all the time, I'm 46. After 2020, I'm going to be 47. I had my fun there. If it closed down, it really wouldn't hurt me too bad because I raced there for so long and had so much fun there. I do feel bad for the new kids. I mean, we have Billy Booth in our division now. He's an 18-year-old kid that bought a race car on his own. He's racing and he's there every weekend. I feel bad for him. You know what I'm saying? Me, that track doesn't owe me anything. I've been there long enough. I've been doing it all my life over there. I just feel bad for some of these new kids coming in. You got Darianne McLaren's young sister. She just started racing this year. I feel bad for people like that, and I feel bad for the kids and quarter midgets that have some dream someday of racing on that big track. You know what I'm saying? For me personally, I like I said, at my age, I've had my fun there. Yeah, I love to continue racing there, but it's more about like my nieces and stuff like that. I really love to see it stay open for them.
Yeah. So go ahead, Josh.
I was just going to say, we want to thank TJ Graves again for the stickers. He listened to last week's episode and sent us a message about getting more of them made to make Tim happy with his sticker appetite.
In TJ's defense, he was down by me for most of the night. He actually sits with us in my and he's kind of in charge of all the little kids. All the little kids love TJ for some reason. So he's like the Pied Piper down there. He walks around, all the little kids all follow him around. He said he was quite impressed by how many people were coming over and asking for them. So he was more than happy to have some more made. And like I said, going back, if I don't, with Scott not racing, and if I don't, as of right now, I don't have a spotting gig, so I'm not sure I'm going to be there. But more than likely, I'll be there. I always seem to end up there anyway. Yeah, come down, and I have some more left, so come down.
That's awesome. We already got Rick Patterson sent a picture in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's another thing too. If you guys, I mean, Neil Rudd did send us a picture showing where he put his RPM podcast. Rick Patterson showed us where he puts ours. Share it on Facebook. Show us, message us. Show us where these RPMs podcast stickers are ending up. Just moving on from Wall Stadium now. Some other stuff going on in our area this weekend. Like
do
I
you
said,
want to do the Sunday series?
Yeah, we will in a second.
Okay.
That's actually on the bottom of our thing.
Yep.
Josh, that's what I was.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll get to the Sunday series. We'll close with the Sunday series and what have you learned.
Okay.
Just a couple things in our area going on. Like I said, Watkins Glen's only 5 hours away. A couple cars are up there. Beautiful place to go watch a race. New Egypt Speedway is having Jeep night. I think it's kind of cool. I have a Jeep. Basically, if you show up with a Jeep, they're having a whole Jeep show out front before the races start. And if you have a Jeep, all you got to do is bring your Jeep keys to the ticket booth and you get 50% off to get in the grandstands. You just got to show them your Jeep key, the key to your Jeep. So that's pretty cool. And then at intermission, they're inviting all the Jeeps out on the track to do like a parade lap around the racetrack. So, if you've never been on a racetrack before and you own a Jeep, go over to New Egypt and take a lap around the racetrack. I think it's a pretty cool idea.
That's a really awesome idea.
Yeah, I tell you what, Josh, ever since I got this Jeep now, you never realize how many Jeeps are on the road. You're constantly waving. It's like one of those things, you don't notice it until you have one. And there is a ton of Jeeps in this area. I think it's going to be a great promotion for them, and I think it's really going to help them.
Now, you're talking about a Wrangler, though, right?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I was waving to every Jeep, and then I had my Nancy said, "Scott, you're doing it wrong." I said, "What are you doing wrong? The guy's got a Jeep. I got to wave to him." She's like, "No, you don't wave to a Grand Cherokee. It's only a Wrangler. You got to wave to." I never knew that. I have a Wrangler, so you only wave to the Wranglers. But it's frustrating for me because, I drive my tow truck all day, and a lot of people don't know it. You do the tow truck wave. Every tow truck you pass, you got to wave at. Then I jump in out of the tow truck, and I'm driving the Wrangler, and I got to wave to every Wrangler that passes me. So all day long, I'm waving to people. And then I go to Wall Stadium when we have the wave lap before the race starts, and I got to wave to Eddie Estelle and his mom every week. So constantly waving.
If you go to watch the race, you get to do the wave in the grandstands.
But yeah, I think that's a real cool thing. Tim, do you know if Jimmy's racing at New Egypt this weekend with the dirt car?
Yeah, he's supposed to be. He told me he wasn't going back to Wall until the Cliff Krause race.
Yeah, the 127 lapper.
And he was going to go. He was going to go to there this past Saturday, but with all the debacle with the news, he felt the need to show support and went to Wall. So as far as I know, he's back to the dirt. Yes.
Okay. Another cool thing, a little different, a little off topic. If you're looking to do something and you're in the north part of the state, Sussex County Fair, it's the New Jersey State Fair. They're having a demolition derby. They have it on Sunday night and Monday night. They put on great shows up there, great demolition derby shows. And the Warren County Fair is still going on right now. They have a demolition derby going on Friday night. Tim, that's the race we met you at with the kids that one year.
That's a hell of a demo derby, yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, if you've never been to a demo derby, I love the little demo derbies Wall Stadium puts on, but you want to see a real good demo derby, you go to these fair demo derbies. These guys really take it serious up there. The one time I took Thomas to it, we watched a guy lose his fingers.
What?
Yeah. It was a compact indoor. The guy was in a 4-cylinder car. He got rolled over, and for some reason, when he rolled over, he put his hand out the window, like grabbed the roof, like outside the window. Mm-hmm. And when the car rolled over, his hand was like where your door meets your roof. Uh-huh. You know what I'm saying? When it rolled over, it just cut his fingers right off. And Thomas was young at the time. He was probably, 9 or 10. And he kept saying, "Scott, the guy must be thirsty. He must be hot or something." I'm like, "Why is that?" They're like, "They're bringing him out a cooler and they got a cooler full of ice." I said, "Uh-oh." They were picking the guy's fingers up off the arena floor, the dirt, and putting them in a cooler. And Thomas said it didn't bother him, but he didn't really watch much of the rest of that demo, man. So, yeah, and even from this day, he'll still tell Nancy he's 21 years old now. He's like, "Remember, Scott took me to that demo, and that guy lost his fingers." So yeah, that was pretty weird.
The fair itself is cool.
Yeah, and the fair itself is awesome. I mean, we all have fairs down here, but they're small compared to up there because it's still farming country up in that part of the state, up by Stokes. Josh, up by Stokes, up in that part of the state. It's beautiful up in that part of the state along the Delaware River. Still a lot of farms up there, so it's still a true agricultural fair, like where there's
the roasted corn's worth the trip. That big machine.
Yeah. It's cool. It's definitely cool. If you're in that area, go to the Warren County Fair and go to this. I feel bad for the demolition derby competitors up there because the fairs are back to back, and we all know how hard it is to build a demo car. And I know a couple guys that do the demos up there. They said they know that they're going to need cars for the end of July, beginning of August, so they build them all winter. And they build a Sussex County Fair car, and they build a Warren County Fair car, so they're ready to go to the next demo. It's just weird. They don't demo all year long, and then they have 4 demos right in the same 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? But if you're up that way, go to the fair. Me and Nancy might even shoot up there Friday night, or we might even.
It's not hard to get to.
No, it's not hard to get to. It's a great part of the country. They also have the one time we were there, they have the hot air balloon launch where there's like 100 hot air balloons, and they all launch in the field behind the fair, and you watch them go up in the air, and then you watch the demo derby. It's awesome. It's really cool. If anybody's up that way or goes to it and you want to call in next week and let us know how it was or message us, let us know. It's just a great time. This is something different. I just wanted to tell people that's going on in the area now. That's a type of motorsports. On the RPM podcast, we'll talk about anything motorsports, and we love demolition derbies.
And we love hot air balloons.
And we love hot air balloons.
And fair food.
Oh.
If you go there, you can talk about fair food,
We just extended the show by an hour, I think.
A big joke. When we were kids, my Uncle Ron used to work at the fairs, at the Monmouth County fairs. Like, he used to deliver ice to all the places. And I'd be like, "Oh, Ron, how was the fair?" He's like, "Oh, it was fair."
Oh.
Get it, Josh? Get it? So, whatever. Oh, man, I had beef on a stick at the fair. Oh, how was it? Oh, it was fair.
That fair that Scott's talking about, they do. Last year they were serving gator bites there. They're hard to get. Yeah, they were good.
All right, I just want to touch base on my Enduro real quick. I went out to Grandview Speedway on Friday. I started 13th. There was 22 cars. I finished 3rd, which was a good run for me because the last 2 times I've been to Grandview Speedway, I got flat tires. I didn't get flat tires this time. I finished 3rd. I'm 2nd in points up there, so I'm still going good at Grandview.
Who got the win?
It was a night race. Who got the win? Oh, Brandon Geyer. He got the win.
Okay.
In the number 70. Tim Pouch, Billy Pouch's brother, he finished 2nd. He's the guy I'm battling with for points, and I finished 3rd.
Well, was Lee Allen out there?
Lee Allen was on his way, and he broke down on the way. He,
God.
He's having some troubles with his truck. On the way home from Big Diamond, he has a 2012 F450 that they use for the business, and that's what he tows his race cars with. On the way home from Big Diamond at like 2 o'clock in the morning, I saw him broke down on the side of Route 78, and I called him on my phone saying, "Hey, Lee, you all right?" He's like, "No, the turbo just blew up in my truck." I said, "You want me to turn around and give you a hand?" He's like, "Unless you got a turbo for a 2012 Ford F450, there's no sense of you turning around." And I'm like, "Yeah, all right." So I just went home, and he ended up getting home at 7 o'clock in the morning. His brother had to come out, tow his race car home. They had Boyce's Towing come out and get the truck. Well, he took it back to Ford and got it fixed,
Yeah.
Cost him like $2,500 to get a whole new turbo put on the truck. Well, he was all loaded up, getting ready to go to Grandview. He stopped for fuel. He smelled antifreeze, and it was leaking antifreeze from, I guess, the turbo has a cooler, and it was leaking antifreeze. So something went wrong when they repaired it, and now it's leaking antifreeze from the turbo or by the turbo or whatever. I don't know. I don't know much about diesels. And, to turn around and go home. He didn't make it out there.
Yeah, I mean, fine. I'm a Chevy guy. That's me. But Lee has had so many problems with that truck over the past, 5 years.
You know what, though? Me and my brother make fun of Fords all the time. We don't like Fords. We like Chevys. But
they all break down at the end of the day.
Everything breaks down at the
Oh,
end
it
of the
does.
day.
Well, Scott, you had the fuel pump coming back from Florida.
Yeah, my truck's a 2002. I shouldn't be taking my trucks that far. But here's another thing about Lee Allen. Lee Allen's a listener to the podcast, and I'll be getting a call on Tuesday afternoon that I say this about Lee Allen. But there's been times I'm cruising along to the racetrack doing 55, 60 miles an hour in the right-hand lane, just minding my own business. And Mr. Lee Allen will blow by me doing 85, 90 miles an hour, towing an enclosed trailer with his race car full of parts, and making fun of me I drive too slow. Well, guess what? I didn't blow a turbo on the way home, so I have a feeling that turbo's met its life expectancy, because I'm pretty sure he's on it all the time with that turbo singing. So maybe slow it down a little bit, Lee, and you won't have to use your truck so bad.
I don't know if anybody saw it, but there's a picture I saw the other day of like a turbo from, basically it's modeled after the Formula One turbos. It's an electrically driven turbo, so there's zero lag. So it'll spin it up, and then when the boost or the exhaust actually kicks in to turn it, then it recharges the battery that runs the turbo.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool idea. I mean, a zero lag turbo, why not? It's got to be fun. But yeah, that's my turbo input for today.
Another thing I just want to mention about my Enduro, it was something I never did before at Grandview. It was a night race.
Okay.
You know, it's usually Sunday afternoons. This was Friday night, and the track conditions were perfect. The track was beautiful. They just missed it a little bit before our race to keep the dust down. They didn't soak it down like they normally do during the day. So the track was the best I ever raced at Grandview. It was a great racing surface. It was our next. I got a little bit of conflict for my next Enduro. The Enduro cars, mine and Nancy's, both sit now until August 30th. We don't race them again to August 30th. And then unfortunately, August 30th, we have a scheduling conflict. They're racing at Grandview and they're racing at Big Diamond the same night. And we haven't quite decided where we're going yet. With me being second in points, we might go to Grandview. But the only problem with that too is I have a conflicting date, September 28th. With Grandview and Wall Stadium. Of course, I would pick Wall Stadium. So I might miss a race at Grandview anyway and knock me out of the points. And the other reason why I might lean towards Big Diamond is I have that 8-win streak going on. Yeah, so I might want to go and keep that going. I don't know. We haven't decided yet. We're going to kind of play it by ear and see what happens at Wall in these next few races. And then I'll see what the weather's like at both tracks and what's going on. Because at first I'm like, I'm going to go to Grandview because I'll get home earlier because it's only 100 miles away and not 180 miles away. Plus we race at 7 o'clock, and at Big Diamond they don't run us till last, or sometimes we don't roll out on the track till like 10, 11 o'clock at night. I get home 4:30 in the morning. Well, I didn't get home from Grandview until 3 o'clock in the morning. It ran late there anyway, so that's really not going to be the deciding factor. It's just something I got to think about and what I want to do.
So the overly dominant Scott Riggleman needs to make a decision.
Yeah.
I still love the way they wrote that.
Who knows? I might not be welcome back at Big Diamond. They'll make the decision for me.
They're going to tear your car. They're going to tear everything out of your car down to the firewall.
So, I mean, that's all I got on my little Enduro deal. Bowman Gray had a little video out of, unfortunately, the guy that bought Jimmy Bloat's beautiful modified and won with it and did a nice speech in Victory Lane decided to go this week and destroy it. Not in a racing accident either. It's like a revenge thing. I mean, he got dumped, and then the guy ran into him when he was sitting there, and then it turned into a demo derby with modifieds. I'm sure everybody's seen videos of it.
There's a few angles of it, and of course Eric Brennan wasn't there either to recap it. So
every angle was worse than the next angle, and he was not only was he destroying the car, hitting the other car, he was revving the motor up so high it was hitting the rev chip. So he wasn't even doing his motor any favor by doing it. I just don't understand why guys do that with their race cars. They're too expensive. They're too nice. It was a shame to see Jimmy Bloat's beautiful modified getting destroyed when it didn't have to.
Yeah, that one hit a little closer to home because knowing how much time Jimmy took with that car, it's like just a shame. What a waste of equipment.
And I have to wonder with how much, because that's a weekly occurrence at that dump, and I mean are there checks being written out, in secret afterwards?
My brother says they make so much money on T-shirt sales down there. That's how they pay for their racing.
It's sort of kind of
right?
like.
Nancy, all right?
Something
that was about.
It's kind of almost like those monster trucks. Like they build them just to tear them apart.
Oh, I know. I know.
And they make all the money on the T-shirts and stuff.
Yeah. That's a good comparison, Tim. I never thought about it that way. You're right, but like Max D and stuff, they know they're going to destroy that truck.
Oh yeah, they're made to blow apart.
But,
yeah,
but that's like they're made for it, and you're going to do that, and it's not
costs
out of
money.
anger. No, it costs. But I mean, you kind of build that into your business model. I guess if you're going to race at Bowman Gray, you have to build it into your business model.
Now, I listened to a interview with Jason Myers. It was on Speed 51.
Mm-hmm.
Did you listen to that?
Not yet.
And,
no, but I read about it. I read what he said.
He said, nothing to do with Dillner asked him, why do you do that with the race cars? Okay, now, as far as that track, indoor town ordinance, the way the cops look at it, if they run into each other with the race cars, that's the racetrack's problem. As soon as they get out of the race cars and fight with their fists, that's the cops' problem.
It's a legal problem.
Yeah. Well, so as long as they're in the cars, they get the revenge that way. If they get out and they fight, then they got to go to jail.
And that just changed in New Jersey. Because like I said, that they announced that at that Bridgeport drivers meeting I was at. That's all changed in New Jersey. You can legally get in trouble now by hitting somebody with your car on the track just as bad as you would if you hit them with a jack handle in the pits.
I think that's.
I think they should make that a law at Bowman Gray too. They got to stop it. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to kill. The track workers are trying to get out there. The cops are thinking about going out there.
When he went flying through the grass there, he almost hit the two track workers.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, there's been worse incidences than that with the track crew there.
Oh yeah. The track crew there are almost like
rodeo clowns.
Yeah.
They really like. They're trying to catch the bull to put him back in the pen. You know what I'm saying? It's just.
Yeah, they are. But the thing is, when it finally ended, those guys went running to the car, and I'm not so sure it was over. I was waiting for him to back up and take another shot. And I mean,
I think that's how the cops handle, because you notice the cops are the last ones there. They're smart enough to wait for it to be over and then run over. They're kind of like they remind me of like a referee at a hockey match. They wait for the guys who are on the ground and done, and then they jump in. You know?
Yeah. I just, it's so stupid, and people get off on that kind of action. But I think it's
just not racing to me. I just know what it takes to build a race car, and I take pride in building my race cars, and I would never wreck it like that. It's just different, and it's not what I'm into.
I get it, getting even, you spin the guy out after he took you out or something like that, and okay, fine. Now, eye for an eye, done, whatever. But to do what they're doing, and it happens not just the modifieds, it's every damn division there. Stupid wrecks like that and demo derbies. I don't get it. I don't know why. It's insane.
I don't know why Jonathan Brown would buy Jimmy Blewett's top of the notch, best of everything modified to go destroy. He should have bought a 1985 Troyer that's like someone's backyard with an old style rack and old style clip. And if you're going to destroy it, go destroy that. You know what I'm saying? Don't destroy a top notch modified.
Yeah. It makes no sense to me, and I hope they close that dump. And I hate it. And everybody, it's no secret, but I don't know. And of course, like I said, Eric Brennan, of course, was away and wasn't there to do that. And
I forgot Eric was in Disney World with his family, and I hope he had a great time down there. But as that was going on, I'm listening to the PA announcer, and it was like as the people were killing each other on the track, they were selling some type of steak sauce or something over the loudspeaker. Like, go to Joe's Steakhouse and get a $99. This temper tantrum is sponsored by Joe's Crab Shack. Yeah, it was ridiculous. And then I'm like, is that Eric Brennan's voice? And it wasn't Eric's, and I realized he was in Disney. But they were just promoting something as this nonsense was going on the racetrack, you know?
Exactly. It's like you can sponsor a fight in each division. Or the first guy to use his car as a weapon tonight will be awarded.
And this modified demolition derby temperature between turns 3 and 4 is sponsored by Smokey's barbecue shack in downtown Winston-Salem. If he hits him one more time, we'll take $2 off your meal. Oh, you just hit him again. Go back and watch the video, Josh. You'll hear it. You'll hear it.
No, I heard it. It's just, I mean, but that's basically what they're going to end up having to do. That's going to be their next advertising step. It's
all right. Let's get to our Sunday series results. Yeah. Robin Irvin is nice enough to, she sends you an email, Josh?
Yes. I got an email.
We want to thank Robin Irvin for that. She's really keeping us up to date on what goes on in the Sunday series. Robin Irvin is a professional writer for the Area Auto Racing News. We don't deal with many professionals on this podcast, so it is nice to have one professional help us out here. So go ahead, read what she sent us.
So July 28th, that's a Sunday results. The WF Microstops: Bob Wagner, Daryl Kreider, Tyler Wagner, Jared Kreider. That's a how do you work that pattern? Richard Pazinski, Josh Barry, Harry Bird, Rich Pazinski. I guess they're related. Oh, hang on.
I got to correct you on that name because I raced with Taz, the father.
Okay.
And, they're Polish. He says the P is silent, so it's Tazinski.
All right. Rich Tazinski, Josh Barry, and Brian Russell. Okay. And we have Harry Bird in there as well. I'm sorry. Something got copied over twice there. The modified microstocks. I cannot speak tonight. Tom Irvin, Mike Brennan, Josh Barry, Jim Van Dyne, Robin Irvin, and Ashley Tyler. The senior champ carts: Mike Brennan, Joe Mingos, Dave South, Joe Parker, Leanne, Kurt Labor, Vinny LaFascio. The junior champ carts: Will Cloud, Steve Puglisi, Mike Hall, Alex Gretz. The sportsman blue: Justin Teresa, Chevy, Alex Rogers, Aiden Spencer, Aiden Gratz. In the sportsman red: Darren Krantz, Alexis Riggleman, Bailey Riggleman, Philip Alamo, and Kevin Davison Jr. And the 206 division: Jim Hall, Kevin Mee, Jessica Milza, Mike Brennan, and Kerry Irwin. Honestly, it's great to see. Tim says it every week. The future of Wall Stadium, as far as drivers are concerned, is alive and well. A lot of the people running in these on the Sunday series, which is free to go to for the grandstands. Go and watch, check it out. It's a bunch of racing that you get to watch for free. And honestly, the racing's just as good. It's just on the flat track. That's the only difference, right, Tim?
The racing is actually really good. The one, I don't know, the one you said where Mike Brennan finished second, that race, whatever they call that.
That was the modified microstocks.
That's the best race of the whole weekend.
Really?
Wall Stadium modified. Those guys, Mike Brennan and the top three, every week, they battle and they pass each other lap after lap after lap.
That's where Tom Irvin and Robin Irvin race. That's their little division, right? I think Tom Irvin's like a 30-time champion in that division or something like that.
And they always take good care of the kids. This weekend they had a water balloon fight after the races.
I saw that on Facebook.
I think Alan Brenner posted that, right?
Yeah,
Alan does a great job with those kids at the Sunday series.
That's awesome. Between ice pops and water balloons, what more can you ask for?
And then usually once it's probably coming up, Mike Brennan will rent the Mr. Softy truck. It'll come there with ice cream, all the ice cream you can eat after the races.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We need that.
All right, and then since we just mentioned Alexis and Bailey, tomorrow's their birthday, Tim. I was invited
Tomorrow is their birthday, and there's a birthday party at Grandma Carol's tomorrow night. I do believe it's at night.
What time I got to be there?
I don't know. I didn't get invited, so I don't know.
Well, me and Andy are invited, so we'll have to figure out what time we got to be there tomorrow. All right, so that pretty much wraps up the show. We always have what have we learned today. I I didn't really learn much. I wasn't really paying attention to that. I did learn that the Champions Night was a big success at Wall Stadium. I also learned that Bowman Gray, while someone's getting murdered on their front straightaway, they'll just advertise a barbecue house down the street. Tim, what have you learned?
I learned that Josh Matthews likes the different Pocono packages. So I don't know what he's looking at when he goes into the grandstand.
I'm looking at that giant martini glass hot tub thing. That's what I'm looking at.
I just learned that for now, Wall Stadium's here to fight another day. Keep going, like Scott said, till the place closes, and that's all we can do. And then again, like I said, thanks for all the people that came up to support our podcast. I guess as much as we don't know it, people do actually listen to us talk nonsense on here. And I'm still waiting to do our Bigfoot UFO show, Josh Matthews.
I'm going to work on that. I actually have a little extra editing to do tonight. I just realized because I left my GoPro set on 1080 instead of 720. So that just died. So I have to go to some of our backup audio for this little segment right here. So,
and talking to some of the people in the grandstands, there are people that are interested in listening to that. So
I'm glad. I'm surprised, but I'm glad. So
that's going to be a spin-off of the RPM podcast. It's going to be a conspiracy corner with Josh and Tim, and I won't be involved in that.
Scott's like, I got to fix my damn car. Is that all you learned, Tim?
Anybody that wants to sit in for that show, please let us know.
Yeah.
I felt like Andy Sykes was all for it. As long as you talk about Oak Island, he was all for it.
Andy Sykes, I talked to. It's funny to mention it, but back when I was spotting for Eric Rudolph, I used to, like, we were away in a hotel. I would be watching Finding Bigfoot on TV in the hotel room. He's like, "What are you watching this for?" I'm like, "Because Bigfoot's real, and he's like a big time hunter. He's in the woods when he's not racing." He's like, he's looking at me. He's a little kid at this time. I'm like, "What's wrong, boy?" He goes, "You know what? I hate to admit it, but there was this one time I was in the woods. I was in the woods fishing. I could have swore there was something in the woods behind me, and it was throwing rocks at me." I go, "You know that is one of the main things Bigfoot does is throw rocks at you." He's like, "Really?" And then, like the next week we went to the racetrack. He goes, "I watched that Finding Bigfoot last night." So I don't know if he still does or not, but
oh boy,
you realize that kid wins like 3 times a weekend now, every weekend.
Eric Rudolph?
Yeah,
he finished second in some big race yesterday.
Yeah, it was a Syracuse qualifier, but he won like the night before that,
And he beat some big names. I think he passed Stuart Friesen the one night to win a race.
Yeah. He's glad the kid's doing good. He's a good kid.
He's totally done with asphalt mods. Eric Rudolph hasn't been racing.
Yeah, he said, I tell him all the time to come back. He said he got to the point where he wasn't getting any offers, and he can make so much money doing what he's doing now. Yeah. He said, I don't know, I might have forgot how to do it. I'm like, no, you didn't forget how to do it. You can still do it. He's good with it. He does the indoor stuff in the winter and the dirt in the summer.
Josh, what have you learned?
Today I learned that Jerry Koenig needs a spotter. I learned that Kevin Ayers is pronounced Elliot Wall. I learned that Scott got a pit stall upgrade. I learned that Nancy was on the rag Saturday night. I learned that TJ Graves is the Pied Piper, and I learned that Scott is riding the wave. So that's what I had. I thought I was going to have more, too.
One other announcement.
I got an announcement.
I just want to make an announcement before we go to Wall thing. It is ladies' night this week at Wall Stadium, and half price for women. It's $18 to get in, so it's only $9 for ladies to get in. That's a great value. So you guys want to take your girlfriends or wives or both out for a cheap date. You can get them both in for $9 a piece.
Bailey's and Alexis's birthday party is from 6 to 8 tomorrow at my mom's in Farmingdale. Anybody wants to stop by, stop by.
You got Fudgy the Whale?
No, that's a good question. No, we got a cake from a baker in Howell Township somewhere.
I might have to stop and get a Fudgy the Whale.
You know those Fudgy the Whales are like $40 now.
We'll put it on Aunt Nancy's credit card.
Get a cookie puss too, then.
Oh boy. All right.
Josh, I got a trivia question for you.
Uh-oh. Okay.
What's Cookie Puss's drunken Irish uncle's name?
Cookie Opus.
There you go.
I wasted no time on that one.
All right, go ahead.
All right,
Lead us
so
out.
that wraps up episode 145 of the RPM podcast. Thanks for joining us again, and we'll see you next week. Go to Wall.
Go to Wall.
Thank you. Go to Wall.